changing the color or keeping it.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
How you doing?
Wow.
doing good.
Blade Runner soundtrack.
Good choice. Good choice.
The game one.
It
Blade
wasn't
Runner.
too bad.
Yeah,
What
the
was with that
Westwood
Sonic
Blade
and-
Runner game's pretty good, all things considered.
What was with that Sonic and Knuckles theme?
Yeah, I like
That was
Snatcher.
Literally like the same thing a billion times.
Hey,
The same like few beats.
yeah, but it's pretty good. I don't know. Hey, why are you in a wind tunnel?
Me?
Yeah,
Am I in a wind tunnel? Do I
you sound a
like I'm in
little. You
wind
sound a
tunnel?
little far
Yeah.
away.
Is it using the wrong mic?
Maybe. Let me
Uh-oh.
quickly check.
Uh-oh. You gotta rip that old mic out. You gotta put some tape over it. You gotta do the donkey thing where his alternate mic is just really shitty quality. So we can because that's the meme, that's the bit he does in his videos.
I think it's because like Shadowplay just doesn't record mics.
No. That's like an actual thing he does. He has like a shitty lapel mic for when he's playing a game, but then he has like a good mic when he does the voiceover, so he can discern between the two.
Memes.
It's really weird, but it's cute. It works.
It's funny sometimes.
Yeah, when it's just like constant peaking. I think there's like a YouTube tutorial online on it. It's called like how to get funny mic, and it just tells you how to make your mic quality really bad.
Does this sound better?
That sounds the same.
Yeah, more or less the same.
Oh.
Good technical support, Source Gaming. Oh boy.
Maybe we should talk about some things.
Yeah, I guess so. Welcome to another splendiferous week, like 3 weeks after the last episode.
Yeah.
We haven't actually been too busy behind the scenes. We just got kind of lazy with making new episodes. Because sometimes
we didn't have a lot to talk about still.
Yeah. Sometimes we get like, oh, hello?
Hello?
Oh,
better
that's
now?
significantly better.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's better. Okay.
I had to turn Discord off and turn it back on again.
I can't believe you went from like
makes sense.
cassette tape to Blu-ray just like that.
Well, I was just doing my funny mic.
Yeah, you're doing funny, Mike. No more turls. No, I'm in charge right now, so no turls.
We got the key to the basement in time.
Yeah, I snatched it up, but no, like I don't know, just we actually do the planning for these Good Morning Source Gamings like way more last minute than you would think. So
we're going to see what sort of news is happening that week.
Yeah, so if no one says anything by like Saturday night, it usually means like it's not going to happen, because by that point Nan's asleep, Matt's on some sort of alcohol binge, I'm eating apple fritters, you know, it's a whole mess. It's a whole
Yeah, we've got to have something to talk about. It's good. We've been taking a bit of a break from something since Byleth dropped. Like we wanted a break from Smash stuff.
Oh god, yeah.
For like at least a month, and so that's why we've been slow off of it for a bit. Although things are coming back. Like I'm working on the next door content.
I should have 4 videos within the next month.
We'll see. No overpromising now.
I may have something. I don't know.
Yeah, Toes always comes back when you least expect it.
I had a couple video ideas, but then I got sick the other week, and that really put like a timing is everything. Time is like half the fun. So if you're off, you're like, oh, well, this sucks, you know. So that's...
we got Spazzy's wrestling alligators.
Yeah, I don't know where Spazzy is. I don't know where Cody is either. He said he was going to be up, but
he tends to sleep through these things.
Yeah, sad day. Oh,
we'll see if he shows up.
well, gamers, it's that time. It's 5 minutes into the show. What have we been playing? We'll start with Matt.
Hey, Dusty.
Okay.
I've been playing Code Vein, which is...
No, you fucking haven't. You've been playing Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition.
No, I've been playing Code Vein. I've been playing Code Vein, which is this, like...
I was gonna say, which
Souls
one?
Light?
Yeah, there you go.
Which it's like not nearly as hard as Dark Souls and not nearly as punishing as Dark Souls. So I've been playing it unlike the other Dark Souls games. It's like a fairly decent game. It's got a really robust character creator, which is why I played it in the first place. But I'm pretty good with like the core overall loop, and like I'm actually like genuinely surprised that the writing is semi decent and the acting is actually really good.
The character selecting Code Vein, I think, is the biggest pull for it.
Yeah,
Like it's the sort of thing I've see like that's basically all I've seen from the game. I had no idea what sort of game it even was. Like at one point I thought it was an MMO. Like it literally just all people recreating characters from other games or themselves as anime boys and girls in Code Vein.
You got around to buying Trauma Team. Awesome. That's a really great game. It's one of my favorites. But yeah, Code Vein does this thing where it does the thing that, you know, all good games do, like the other From Software games. It's not made by FromSoft. It's made by like Shift, I think, but
I'll double check now.
it's made by Shift, but it does the thing that the From Software games do, where it's really cool and hard and XD when when enemies do like a big attack, but also they pivot towards the player in the middle of it really awkwardly. So they home onto you, and it's like it's the worst thing in the world. Like every single boss has attacks that do that, and that's like the biggest problem with the game. Overall, it's pretty all right. It's just a little bullshit sometimes.
All right. No, I'm interested. I'm more interested now that I know it's not an MMO.
It's not. It's an action RPG thing.
Oh, nice.
But you've also been playing.
I've also been playing Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition on stream for Source Gaming for the Nintendo Switch. It's basically exactly the same as the other HD versions of Devil May Cry 3, which is to say, it's not good, but also it has style switching, which genuinely like adds more options and more ideas that you can play with and do things in the game. But like, buy the PC version instead. You can get mods that replace the shitty quote unquote HD textures that ruin the aesthetic of the game. What they did for all three of the Devil May Cry HD conversions is they just ran every texture through a shitty upscaler that doubles the resolution and sharpens every texture, and it looks fucking awful. And they also got rid of several like good and essential graphical effects like depth of field and bloom, which helped hide some of the lower quality textures. Like there's a moon for a skybox in the final boss of the game, which is a giant eyeball. It is the most pixelated shit in the new version because you can see every single pixel because of how they sharpened it. And in the original version, it was still pixelated, but it wasn't so like obvious. And also there was a depth of field effect that blurred it and could not tell that it was this really low resolution texture. They also do this thing where they redrew some textures and they either compromised the original aesthetic of the game or like didn't put any thought into how they did it. There's a bandage on one character's leg halfway through the game, which had like transparency in the original. They didn't give a shit. It's got like black edges in the HD version where it should be transparent. Also, everyone in the game has like transparent hair, where the edges of their hair would be transparent, which would add like depth. And also, it's not anymore. And that's like a really big problem for Dante in particular because he has hair that goes over his eyes, and in the new HD versions, his non-transparent hair covers up a lot of the facial animations that the animators put a lot of hard work into doing, and it makes it look really awkward. Also, that, like, just generally, most textures that were redrawn are kind of shitty, and the textures that were left alone and just upscaled, they just look bad.
Apart from the PC version, which you can obviously mod, though, would you think that this one's like the best? The Switch version is the best version for consoles?
It's the best HD version for consoles if you can play the PS2 original of Special Edition, not the original, because they did a XD where the American versions of Devil May Cry 3, the original, had normal mode as hard mode because people complained about Devil May Cry 2 being too easy. But if you can play the PS2 version of Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition, if you have access to that, you don't care about HD resolution, do that instead because it generally looks better.
Heard it here first, folks. The Devil May Cry man himself.
I'm gonna give it a pretty good review because it's still Devil May Cry 3 and it's like one of the best games of all time. And I was a little hesitant to give any negative feedback towards Devil May Cry 1 on the Nintendo Switch, which I'll admit now wasn't the most responsible thing that I've done. I actually skirt around the issue in the review a bit by saying it's the best HD version of the game you can get now, which is technically true, but play the PS2 version instead. And I'm probably going to say the same thing for Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition on the Switch, because it is technically the best HD version of the game you can get without modifications.
But what about Devil May Cry 2?
Devil May Cry 2... So I've heard conflicting reports about Devil May Cry 2, where the HD version actually added content. Like, there are weapons you can get during the game, and apparently the HD version added the ability to get those weapons later if you missed them earlier. Which is like, what the fuck? Who did this? Why Devil May Cry 2 of all games? What the fuck? But like, Devil May Cry 2, as far as I know, doesn't have the same problems as 1 or 3, or nobody cares to even look into if it has the same problems as 1 or 3.
That sounds about right.
It probably has the same HD texture crap where everything looks terrible and over-sharpened, but other than that, it seems like pretty faithful. I have a feeling that a lot of the broken effects in the HD version of Devil May Cry 3 are because they were programmed to work at 480p, and they don't work in the HD resolution, so they either just got rid of them or they just didn't bother fixing them. I'm going to test that later today. I'm going to run the PC version at 480p to see if they still work or not. But I'll find out. So overall, Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition, it's a fantastic game. It's a really good game. If you haven't played it before, don't have access to a PS2, sure, buy it for the Nintendo Switch. And the modding thing with PC, it's still fucking ridiculously hard to get it set up because you have to use a program called Special K, which is a giant piece of shit that doesn't work half the time. So yeah, if you want Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition, you want it in HD, you can't get the PS2 version. Switch version is probably the best one. If you buy it on the eShop, you can only buy it on the eShop unless you import like the collection from Japan. You get 50%
the fake physical
off.
version. Yeah,
you get 50% off Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 2. So you have the HD collection technically for $40. Love that Switch tax.
I don't even think it's Switch tax. I think it's just Capcom being no good.
Yeah, I think it's Capcom being Capcom.
I mean, that's probably true because sold Devil May Cry 2 for $20. Apparently, it did well enough for them to just for them to do Devil May Cry 3. So I weep for the poor souls out there who played Devil May Cry for the first time, thought, hey, this game's pretty good, saw Devil May Cry 2 on the Direct, and like, oh, I'll get this game, and then played Devil May Cry 2 and like, what the fuck?
And then they had to really hype up Devil May Cry 3 with like all these extra announcements.
It's really funny. The Devil May Cry Twitter account was really like trying its hardest to make Devil May Cry 2 look cool. And the moment they announced Devil May Cry 3, they just went all out shit posting and promoting Devil May Cry 3. It's like having to promote a bad game lowers enthusiasm, but having to promote a good game is generally easier.
It's really funny because on like Reddit and stuff, like Capcom's like behavior of Switch ports is like definitely catching up to them, because there was like, I think like half a week before DMC3 Special Edition came out, there was like all these posts saying like, oh no, boycott this version of the game because like Capcom can't keep getting away with like overpricing these ports of games, which I totally agree with. Like, there's no reason why the Resident Evil games should be $30, and there's no reason why Devil May Cry 1 and 2 should be $20. But it's also like, wait, guys, why didn't you do this like months ago with DMC2? Because now we're doing it with the one where they actually put effort into it, so if we boycott now, it sets a really bad example.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, no, don't do it. Not yet.
I wonder if when they do Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, if it's going to stay $20, which is the price it is on other systems, so that would actually be reasonable.
Yeah.
Or if they're going to raise it to $30.
They're going to do the $30 thing that they've been doing with the Resident Evil
It's really
games.
bad one. It's really bad with the Switch, and Switch tax is only a thing that applies to games that get physical releases as well.
Hopefully, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition can get a physical release. It only got one in Japan for the PS4, so I'm not holding out hope for that, but
might do it just so they could justify having the higher price tag.
Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, like, even though it was mostly digital only, did sell over 1 million copies, so I don't know, they might put effort into it.
It's the Switch tax thing is like one of those things. It's sort of a side tangent, but it's one of those things where, like, it's totally there, but I think a lot of that is also just due to the fact that a lot of games are being sold for MSRP, which is not like a far-fetched thing to do. It's just that because these games come out later than the other versions, it just comes off as really weird. Because I always see people being like, "Oh, why were they selling Civ 6 for $60 on Switch when it's like $20 during a Steam sale?" And it's like, well, that's how like selling games works. But with the Capcom stuff, it's like, yeah, no, it's totally egregious. They're selling digital copies of games that are $20 physical on other consoles. Like, there's no reason why RE5, RE4, RE6, fucking Remake, and RE0 should have been $30 each.
And
especially when Revelations 1 and 2 were $20 each. Like, what?
The thing is with Capcom games is that they regularly go on sale on other platforms, like all the time. So you can find like Devil May Cry 4
for like $6, yeah.
Yes, $5 on Steam. You can find like the HD collection for like $10. You can find a bundle of the HD collection in Devil May Cry 4 for literally $20. That's 4 games.
Yeah.
4 games the price of 1 that you'd be getting on Switch.
Yeah. Remember when Deus Ex on Wii U was double the price of the other versions? It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was like a Game of the Year edition.
So Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, for some reason, I believe on every platform in the US, was $50. In Europe, it was reasonably priced because it was an old game that got re-released. So it was like £30?
£30.
Yeah. But like they really tried to pull the wool over everybody with that. It was either that or just the Wii U version, which would be ridiculous but not surprise me.
I think you got a big old discount if you had Human Revolution on Steam. But
Probably.
It's also been so long.
Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Well, speaking of older games being ported to the Nintendo Switch for a slightly higher price, I played the Sega Ages version of Sonic 2, which I don't have too much to say on that because it's Sonic 2. But the thing that's weird, the thing that like really irks me is that when they announced the Ages version of Sonic 2, they were doing this like wacky crazy thing where they were like, oh yeah, this is going to be like the definitive version of Sonic 2. We're going to be putting in features that we weren't even able to get running on the Genesis.
Okay.
And it was like, yeah.
Really quick, I want to retract my previous statement. It was indeed the Wii U version at $50, and the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions were $30.
That's weird.
But in Europe, all of them were $30.
Okay.
It's impossible to 100% the Wii U version of Human Revolution. Is that true?
I mean, isn't the director's cut itself kind of inherently glitchy anyway?
Not the Wii U version.
Okay. Anyway, so Sonic 2, yeah, they said they were gonna like add all this new stuff, and no one knew what the hell it meant. Because there's only like pretty public knowledge about what was cut from Sonic 2, which just resorts to like the time travel mechanic that they just used in Sonic CD instead.
And it's just the drop dash that they basically added to Sonic 2 Ages. From Sonic Mania?
Well, yeah, they added the drop dash, but like they were hyping it up like, oh, it's gonna be more. There's gonna be cool stuff, and then they said nothing for like a year, and then it came. It's just like they basically shadow dropped it. They're like, oh yeah, it comes out next week, and it's just Sonic 2 with a drop dash. Like they didn't do anything.
Oh shit! It's Spazzy.
Spazzy? Oh no! Oh no!
He's in the chat.
He's woken up. Somebody hide. So it's just Sonic 2 then. I don't get why Sega does. I mean, everyone says this, but why the hell is Sega not porting the mobile versions of these games?
Because I think it's because the Ages versions are supposed to be like these really cool Ebon like deluxe edition of the original releases. Like that's what they've been doing with like the first Phantasy Star, where it's like the original Master System ROM but with like extra stuff added, or Virtua Racing and all that. But I mean, if you like Sonic 2 like me, you'll like it because it's Sonic 2 and it's way better than the Sega Genesis collection that they released. So you can finally play
good as the fucking phone version.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? Unless you go watch the new Linus Tech Tips video and install Android on your Switch.
Do you remember how Sega ruined those phone ports of Sonic games?
Yeah, with the Sega
including
Forever
them
stuff.
In their new Sega Forever service.
Yep.
Which, despite saying that you can pay to remove the ads, I previously purchased those games and I can't get rid of the ads.
Oh no. It makes you want to purchase it a second time through the service, does it?
It's really weird.
It says I do own it, but you can't get rid of the ads, which fucking sucks because I paid for those games.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
And then I played a couple other games. About a week ago, about like 2 weeks ago, I got like really ill. I had like a big stomach bug, and that was fun because I was like sick for like 2-3 days straight, and then I got better, and then I got sick again. Like it just came back for another 2 days. So that was a fun week. And during that week, Crytek shadow dropped Warface for the Switch, which is like a free-to-play Call of Duty clone. And so, you know, when you're sick, you're pretty much bedridden, and the Switch is like the best console for that. So I was just kind of sitting there playing this like free-to-play Call of Duty clone, and it's good. It's fine. Like, if I want to play COD, I'll just keep playing Modern Warfare, 2019, because it's Kino. But I think like I realized something when I was in bed playing this thing, and I was like, the prospect of like handheld video gaming is not new. So when people are like, "Oh my God, the Switch is great because it's a handheld," and everyone's like, "Yeah, but what sets it apart from like the 3DS or the Vita or anything before it?" And I think I know what it is, which is good multiplayer games, because that was just like not a thing.
Vita was much more on the visual novel RPG front.
Yeah,
Which the PSP was as well. To be honest, PSP had a ton of RPGs.
like don't get me wrong. Like if you had a 3DS, you were banging out like Mario Kart and Smash Brothers and stuff. But like, I'm talking like full console level multiplayer experiences, which is way, 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 way different. And the Switch is like the only handheld to ever really nail, like, you can play shooters on that thing, you can play like fighters on that thing, and so that's pretty great. And I was just having like
the online in the Metal Gear Solid PSP games.
I do. It was like a really kind of crappy co-op mode that like you had to have 4 friends or else it was a colossal mess.
One of them had a competitive multiplayer one.
Wait, was it Metal Gear Acid?
I want to say it was Portable Ops, but I'll check.
But I feel like, I mean, like, the last time I can genuinely remember playing like a Call of Duty like game on a handheld system online was Black Ops Declassified on the Vita, which is not a good game. It's not a good game in the slightest. So Warface is very competent as a free-to-play game. I've heard it gets like egregiously grindy, but I haven't really reached that point yet. To me, it just seems like it throws a lot of crap in your hands to have fun with. And like, I feel like if I'm just, on a trip or something and I just want to play something Call of Duty like, I'll probably play it because it fills that need like perfectly fine. It could be a little better, but whatever.
Metal Gear Solid
Portable Ops. I've never heard of it before.
Metal Gear Online.
Metal Gear Online. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it just kind of came out of nowhere. They just threw it on the eShop, on the Australian eShop, and then everyone's like, what was that about? And then the next day it went on, it was worldwide. And they were basically like, yeah, there's no military shooters on the Switch, so we're going to be the first one. And to me, that screams, we want to be on there before COD Online gets on the Switch. Or not COD Online, but COD Mobile, because I feel like it's inevitable, but it just hasn't happened yet, so who knows.
Get on there now before COD gets its chance.
Yeah, pretty much, because once COD Mobile gets on there, I mean, it's like, the brand name alone is going to carry it.
Yeah.
Hey, Colin, completely random, but have you played Titanfall 2? Because it is absolutely fantastic. I love Titanfall 2. I like the first one too. People hated it because it was multiplayer only, but I like both Titanfalls. I think the second one's a little better, but that single player campaign is fantastic.
I've heard really. I think we have a review. Yeah, we have a review of it from Connor from back in the day, like our first attempt at trying to go out of the Nintendo sphere.
Yeah,
with Titanfall 2. It's actually sitting on my backlog. My 2 housemates went out and to CEX randomly and came back with Titanfall 2 and Neo.
Yeah.
And we're like, here you go. Merry Christmas.
It's like it's like 4.5, 5 hours long. Like you can bang it out in an afternoon. I did it in one sitting on a stream. And I just went through the whole thing and I had a really good time. It's fantastic.
I've been doing that pretty much recently with the games I've been playing. I don't know if I want to jump into that or if you've got any more that you want to talk about.
You know what? You say your piece and then we'll come back to me because I got like one more game to talk about.
All right. Yesterday was a very productive day for me in terms of video gaming because I completed like 3 games all at once. And also started one game that I then beat on the same time, which was Sayonara Wildhearts.
Ooh.
Which is really, really good.
Isn't it recommended that you play it in like one sitting because it's supposed to be like a pop album as if it was a
like it's a music game, not a rhythm game, a music game. You basically sit there and listen to an album and just auto move and press buttons at the right time. It's constantly changing up the gameplay thing. So it starts off like skateboarding, and it's one of those lanes where you have like 3 lanes and you just move into each lane and you're trying to collect all the collectibles. And then it just starts changing stuff. You start getting quick time events during combat fights and boss fights with mechanics where like one of them, they click their there's 2 parallel universes, and every time they click their fingers, you swap to a different universe. So you have to memorize that, see what's coming up, and then try and remember it when it throws you back to the previous universe, so that when it throws you to the next one, you're already prepared enough to move out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of cool collectibles, got a lot of cool visuals. The music, the soundtrack's really good. You're motivated to not crash, because every time you crash, the song sort of stops, and then you get sent back a certain bit and have to do it again. But it's very short. I beat it in like an hour and a half, playing through it all pretty much in one setting. It's very pretty though. It's a very visually pretty.
I feel bad because for a month I was a subscriber to Apple Arcade, as someone who owns a Apple iPhone 6s, and I downloaded Sayonara, and then I just never played it for that entire month because it takes it's more like, I think Apple Arcade is actually really cool because the games on there are actually like surprisingly high quality. It's just that you cannot get me to play a game on a phone. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I can't do it.
Did you try any game on the Apple Arcade?
No. Granted, I didn't pay for it. It was the free trial, so it's not like I spent $5 on nothing.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where I don't know. I never feel like I have proper time to play a game on my phone, and then when I want to, it's not very comfortable. Like, I have all the streaming stuff on my phone too, and I just never use it because I'm like, screen tiny, phone cramp. I don't like it.
Yeah, well, it's like I wanted to try it because I wanted to try out the Shantae game, because isn't like the first chapter or something out on Apple Arcade. And then the Frogger game that Q Games made.
Maybe when I get the iPhone 11 Pro Max and I just basically have a giant tablet in my phone, and then I like of a phone, and I have a DualShock 4 in my back pocket, then I'll play it. But until then, I think I'll hold off from Apple Arcade, which is a shame because I do think they're actually doing a pretty good job with it.
But yeah, so Sayonara Wildheart was the first game I beat yesterday. But I also beat on stream Pokemon. Finally, after like 3 months or 4 months or however long it's been. And that's, you know what? I mean, I haven't seen Phantom's review yet. I need to watch it. Now that I've beaten the game, I don't mind watching stuff like this. It was like 3 hours and a half because that post game is really long. But I really enjoyed the game and its story up until like the final parts of the main story, where everything just goes off the rails because it has to for no reason. Like the whole game, you're like do it in this Premier League basically, and your goal is to become the champion. And you have all this other there's like hints of another storyline, as there usually is in Pokemon games, but your character doesn't get involved in it because it's not his story. And I like that because it never makes sense in the previous Pokemon games why you're trying to become champion and then suddenly you're out here fighting some dimensional god and stopping someone from taking over the world. Like, that's not your job. You're just a 10-year-old. But in this game, they sort of acknowledge that. But then out of nowhere, this guy who's never shown any sort of signs of being the villain is now suddenly the bad guy. And his plan makes literally no sense and nothing matters. And what really makes this even worse is the post-game story for Pokemon Sword and Shield with the guys with the stupid hair is like a much better storyline for that, what could have been the secret alternate version of the second story, than the main story throws at you.
I actually like Rose because he's very obviously the villain. He gives off like kind of emotionless corporate CEO energy because he is a corporate CEO, and as we know, all corporate CEOs are evil. But the thing is, like, his plan was just to give to secure energy for the next few millennia for the region, and it worked.
It's like the problem is his plan kind of makes sense, but he makes him like people can tell he's clearly the bad guy. I don't think it's necessarily because he's a corporate character, but because Pokemon always has that guy who's just the villain, like the leader of some team. And it's like literally you know he's the baddie from the first time you see him because that Pokemon has trained you to think he's going to be the baddie. And then he almost feels like he is the baddie purely to fit a quota. And what really bugs me about this is I feel like the two princes, the descendants from royalty, from the secret royal family that's behind in the Gala region, that sort of run around and Dynamax a bunch of Pokemon and cause havoc during the post game. Their plight and their story makes them far more better villains than I think Rose would be. I'd almost want it so almost like Rose is literally like, just a company guy, and those two are his investors, and they're the ones pushing him to do this stuff. Like Call the Darkest Day. I feel like that would have paid off better, and it would have made so much more sense for why Rose suddenly has a shift and becomes blatantly evil, and then shifts back to being
so the
good.
thing about Rose is that he's not evil. He's never meant to be evil. He's actually like a good guy trying to do the right thing through the wrong methods.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's just there are so many things towards that ending that make no sense. That they're not going to run out of energy for 1,000 years, so it's not really a current issue. And he goes so far out of his way to make sure that he happens right then and there for no reason. There is no reason why he couldn't, because Leon's literally like, I will help you with this problem. Just let us have the champion battle first. And Rose is like, no, it has to happen tonight.
Yeah,
it gives no real reason for why it has to happen tonight.
Yeah, I know it's a little sloppy, but I like the effort put to have it have just a bit more nuance than just guy evil.
I think the problem for me with that is that it's so obvious that he's going to turn around and be the person you fight at the end. And even if he's not like evil because he's not evil in the way that like Lysander is evil or Cyrus is evil.
Yeah,
like he's not crazy,
Hitler.
But he makes like he's for a guy who's meant to be more nuanced and meant to be doing things for the right reason and good. He just acts like he's a complete dick at the end, towards the end of the game for no reason. Just because the game sort of forces. I would much rather that be the post game and have this fake royal family who are trying to harness prove that the Pokemon dogs aren't bad, like are bad, like what the post game story is. I'd rather that be the main story because they're also going around Dynamax and Pokemon, which Rose is kind of doing, but that's never really explained. Like that just sort of happens and it's implied to be Rose, but that has nothing to do with summoning Eternatus back. How do you pronounce his name? I don't know. There's so much towards the end of that game that really I don't like, and then the post game is like pretty good.
Yeah, it's really back-ended. I don't think it's like fantastic or great. I just seem to be a bit more lenient on it than most people. I don't know.
Well, I'm more lenient because the rest of the game, like the whole doing all of the 8 gen, like for me, the game starts going a bit downhill after you beat Pierce, the 7th gym leader. Like before that point, I thought everything was perfectly logical, perfectly fine, and then it has a scene where something's happening. A guy comes up to you and is literally like, "Oh, there's this giant Pokemon is causing havoc down this road. We need every able-bodied trainer we can to solve it." So you head that way, like where he tells you to, and then you run into Leon instantly, and Leon's like, "Yeah, the two of us will take it down together." And then you keep going down there. By the time you reach the point, Leon's already dealt with the problem and you don't get to fight it. And I see absolutely no reason why that has to be the case, especially because in the post game, the whole point is that all these Dynamax Pokemon appear and you're going around to it with the gym leaders and fighting the Dynamax Pokemon with all the gym leaders. So, like, why not have that one moment? It's just like a massive tease with no payoff.
Yeah, I get
and then everything just returns back to normal, and then keeps going until Rose turns around and is like, all right, now I'm going to destroy everything. And it's even like they try and force him to appear more evil with Alina, trying to be like, oh yeah, you can't go see him. I'm going to have my guy run around town and hide and then battle you and do all of this stuff and look really pissed off for no reason. It's just, yeah, it's just weird. Also, I don't think you need to be 10 in the new. I'm pretty sure they're meant to be like 15 or 16 in the new game in Gala.
I think so. They were 11 in the Hawaii one, and
Like,
they were meant to be older in Kalos.
I think because they were all around 10, 11 up until Black and White.
Yeah.
And then in Black and White, they were made roughly 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Kalos kept that. And then in Pokemon Sun, they went back down to the original 10, 11. But now I think they've gone back up to about 15, 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, I enjoy Pokemon Sword. I think it's much better than X and Y. It's hard for me to judge it against Gen 3 and Gen 4, to be honest.
I think
I still prefer
it's
Gen 5 to
definitely
Gen 2.
the best like Pokemon game that I've played since Black 2, White 2. I definitely think it's way fucking better than the last two gens, which are like Gen 6 is like super mixed. It has like really great music, really great post game, really awful normal game, just really awful campaign. And then Gen 7 is like, oh, it's neat, interesting and new and exciting the first time you play it, but like it sucks in retrospect.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. For me, it's sort of the X and Y. I personally think had a really bad main game and post game, and I didn't. The story was really crap.
By post game, I mean like the online.
Oh right, yeah, no, I'm not meaning about the online. I mean, yeah, that's one thing. X and Y has a much better battle system and online system than both Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield.
Yeah,
Sun and Moon, I think, is a better game, but has too much dialogue, way too much dialogue in Gen 7.
Yeah,
like they tried to go all out with
really
making
not something that you'd replay.
Like the best story of any of the Pokemon games because it puts so much more emphasis on the story, but it also stops you like every 5 seconds. And I know people who just gave up playing it because of how much it stopped.
I think Black and White are still stronger, but I do think Sun and Moon, like the original Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, kind of muddy the water, but the original Sun and Moon are up there with some of the best stories. But it just there's just so much of it, and it keeps interrupting you a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I preferred Sword and Shield.
Yeah,
I think I like a lot of the new Pokemon they've added. I think the story is very simple compared to the previous games, but I think that's a good thing because there's no reason why the story should be really complicated.
I think that's a good thing.
Up until like the very end, it sticks to its guns about it being a simple, straightforward, going to be the champion. I think the rivals in Pokemon Sword and Shield are possibly some of the best rivals they've done, like in any Pokemon game.
I think Marnie's weird.
Marnie's the only one without any sort of clear message behind her. I think she's really just there to be supportive.
I think it would have been better if Marnie acted a bit closer to what her design was, and I wonder if they changed her dialogue in the localization process, because she seems like this really aloof, like kind of monotone character who has trouble expressing her feelings, but she's like southern in her dialogue and seems like kind of she has like bouncy dialogue, and it's like this really
she
weird
seems a lot more friendly than she looks. Basically. Yeah, I mean, it may be the case. I mean, because you've got Bidet, who's like the obviously the cocky rival, and then Hop, who's like your actual rival. And I think Hop is possibly one of the best rivals.
Oh yeah, I love Hop.
Hop's the only rival where I've genuinely felt bad for beating him every single time.
Hop's the only rival where, like, I genuinely felt like I was having fun when I was fighting him. Because, like, most rivals, you either steamroll them or they have, like, stupid over-leveled teams and you have to grind a bit before you can steamroll them. But, like, Hop is just at the right level, and he has, like, a level of competence that most other rivals don't have. I remember at the beginning of the game, he compliments you for landing a super effective move. He says, "I figured you would do that." Like in the league championship battle, he did a similar thing. I hit his Pokemon with a super effective move. He goes, "I knew you would hit me with a super effective move," and then uses fucking counter and kills my Pokemon in one hit. It's like, holy shit, was that intentional? Is that real?
Pokemon has quite a few good dialogue like that. Like, so Leon actually had quite a funny one where during the champion battle against him, I hit him with both a super effective move and a critical hit at the same time, and he comments on both of them. But also, like, I brought Eternatus into the battle with me, and he like comments on the fact that I've brought, you know, the legendary monster that he just saw me catch with him. Like, and Piers has the same thing in the post game where if you're in Hammerlock Gym, when you get the phone call from Sonia saying that's where the baddies have gone, he's like, "Well, it's a good thing we're already here. Then let's head over to her."
The cocky rival is pronounced Beat. I believe his Japanese name is also Beat, and you can hear that in his theme. Beat. So they probably wanted to keep the pronunciation the same. It literally says Beat at one point in the theme.
Okay, it's definitely not spelled that way.
Hey guys, I got bored.
Oh,
hey, Spice is here to replace Cody. But yeah, ultimately, I enjoy Pokemon Sword. I think it's much better than people try and make it out to be.
Yeah,
that's a quote for the back of the box. Much better than people make it out to be. Source Gaming.
Hell yeah.
If it had more time in the oven to add a few more extra features or flesh out the story a little bit in spots, then it'd probably be like one of the best Pokemon games.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been better with one more year of development still, but it actually came out pretty good, like better than X and Y did. So
yeah, and
that shouldn't be much of a feat, but it is.
They shouldn't include Dynamaxing in the multiplayer. That's my only other comment on that, because that just ruins the multiplayer for no reason.
I kind of like the trimmed down decks. They're adding more with the DLC and stuff. But the one thing I didn't like that they got rid of was Mega Evolution and Z moves, because I felt like they added a lot to the game. And like
I was never a fan of Z moves. Mega Evolutions, Mega Evolution should have stayed, but I was never much of a fan of Z moves.
Z moves were a nice spectacle. I agree they don't add much, but Mega Evolutions literally changed several Pokemon. They made them viable. They made some of them OP. But they generally just made more Pokemon usable. And like not having them is sad.
Yes, agreed. But oh well, that was my Pokemon section. The one other game I've beaten was called the Turing Test. Portal-esque thingy, but I'm actually going to do a review on that, so I won't spend too much time talking about it. Just know that I have beaten it, so I will start writing that up.
Yeah, it's like 5 hours long, isn't it?
It's not very long. So
yeah, which caused a big stir on the internet of can $20 games be 5 to 6 hours long? Which the answer is yeah.
Listen. Most of the $60 games I own, I've only played about 5 hours of anyways.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know.
I mean, that argument is dumb. I definitely think 5 to 6 hour games can be worth $20. Like, I mean, I bought Owlboy for around that. I don't necessarily think Turing Test is worth that much, though. So,
well, it's also been out for like several years too.
I think it comes down to the quality and the replayability of a game, because like Devil May Cry 1 is 3 hours long. If you know what you're doing, at least. If you don't, it might be like 4 to 5 hours long. But I mean, it did in 3, but it's
yeah,
like replayable.
It comes down to the craft, the crafting of it, what's involved in it, and yeah, how much certain games, how long is really a campaign in a fighting game? I know that's a completely different beast, but I mean, how long is it? I don't know, 5 hours maybe, but you get replayability. Yeah, depending. But yeah, like 5 hours for some more ridiculous ones. Even Realm or Soul Calibur stuff isn't that long. But you play it because, hey, I can play against other people, or what is there really even a campaign in something that's infinitely replayable like Minecraft? I mean, sort of, I guess, but who cares? It's not what it's about.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. I bought Portal for $20 when it came out, and that game's like an hour long, but it's the best hour of video games I've ever played ever.
I think replayability is a very important aspect for people who only buy games like every once in a while and they really want their money's worth.
I just hate the argument because
like the game is good.
I just hate the argument because I always see someone going like, yeah, but I got Stardew Valley for $20 and I put like 500 hours into that game. And I'm like, so what? Does that mean Stardew Valley should be like $500? Like, what's... Don't do the
like
hour
some games
per
are,
dollar thing.
I feel like some games are kind of padded out too. Like,
yeah,
I really, and I'll probably get crucified for saying this, but I really love the first Red Dead Redemption a lot. But I felt like, okay, now we're going to Mexico, now we're going here, and I'm like, I'm just doing the same stuff again, guys. It was really thrilling, and to do all of this stuff and these bounties. I'm like, but now I just go to different towns, and I feel like I'm just still doing the same thing. Like,
that's the Rockstar secret.
Yeah, it really is, and that's part of the reason I was never really that big into Grand Theft Auto.
People usually get those games to fool around in the sandbox, and a lot of people just don't end up playing the campaigns, which is really funny because they put so much money and effort into those campaigns.
Yeah, and those campaigns are like 60 hours long or whatever.
Yeah, and they usually suck.
I think L.A. Noire is the only one that's like a reasonable amount of time because it's only like 12, 15 hours.
That has so much padding.
And it has like a story too.
Everything outside of the detective stuff sucks.
Oh yeah, it's all the off the beaten track stuff is
the fucking shooting and driving they put into the game because they needed to make it more like GTA to sell. Sucks.
Hey, you should play the VR version where you drive by holding the two motion controllers out like it's a wheel, and you gotta steer it like it's a wheel. It's the worst thing ever. I hate it. I hate the VR version of L.A. Noire so much. Or as that one guy in GameStop once called it, Lenore.
Yeah. Rockstar didn't make L.A. Noire?
I haven't played Red Dead 2 yet, so I couldn't tell you about that.
I mean, Rockstar published it, but they also had, like... They definitely shoved their hand into that game. Because, like, otherwise it wouldn't be an open-world game.
No doubt.
At all.
They also provided the technology
the engine
for the facial scanning and stuff.
So, Spazzy, now that you're here, what have you been playing?
Oh wait, somebody asked me something.
God damn it, Spazzy. Yeah, we were talking. Well, this section was the what have we been playing recently?
I don't play video games. I experience them because I only play Sony's first party. Whoa! No, I'm joking. Oh man, I really like ragging on Sony's first party because there's so many people that passionately love it, and it's really fun to just see them get like really up in arms about their art. Anyways, I haven't had time to play anything this week. I've been doing some coding after work because I'm applying for a new job. So that's been taking up most of my time. You know what? I did play some games. I bought Doom 1, 2, and 3 on the Switch.
Hey, because they're all $1 now, and the ports are like amazing.
Yeah, and I played.
I bought that as well.
I played like 8 hours of the original Doom. Did
you download the add-ons?
Are there add-ons?
Oh my god, you don't know?
I don't know. Let me know.
So Bethesda, for like the 25th anniversary, very quietly on their stream was like, oh yeah, by the way, we're just gonna add like Final Doom and Sigil and No Rest for the Living and community mods for free. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
you can just if you boot up the game, there's a little thing that says add-ons, and you get Final Doom, which works in both Doom 1 and 2, Sigil, which works in Doom 1, No Rest for the Living. By the way, Sigil is the new John Romero campaign that came out last year.
Okay, I did not.
Yeah, it's like the official episode 5 of Doom. That's on Doom 1. No Rest for the Living is the Nerve campaign that Nerve Software did for the XBLA version of Doom 2. That's in Doom 2. And now they're starting to slowly add community-made map packs. I believe the first one was like a 2011 Kako Award winner. So, like, that's pretty great. Like,
It's a lot of Doom content.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to playing Doom 3. It's the only one I've not played. So
I've played Doom.
I
three.
played Doom.
interested.
I played Doom 3 on my original Xbox, and it wasn't
no.
that great.
It's
So
not
I'm
I've
looking
been
great.
hearing
forward.
it's not great.
I'm looking forward to playing a version that runs well.
Yeah. It's actually funny. I was playing the Doom 3 Switch port to hold me over until Metro Redux came out, which I'll talk about in a second. And man, BFG. I mean, like the last time I played Doom 3 was like in 2008 on like an HP laptop that barely played video games. But now I'm playing like the BFG version on Veteran. That game's really easy. That game is like dummy easy. I don't remember it being so easy peasy lemon squeezy, but it really is.
So besides that, I bought Dead Cells, and I'm planning on playing it any day now. Haven't started though, and I keep trying to get into the PS4 Spider-Man game, and I really feel like I probably will eventually enjoy it because. Joking aside, I feel like that's what these Sony first-party games are for me. It's all like it's such a chore for me to get through the first like 5 to 10 hours, and then I'm like, okay, I get what's going on, and then I get in line with it.
Yeah.
The only exception to that one recently was, and I know once again you're not a fan, but I really did enjoy from the get-go the new God of War because it felt very gamey.
I actually think the opposite of that is Death Stranding because like I was way into it like the first 10 hours, and then after that I'm like, all right.
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
I think I just need to get used to the way it controls and stuff because I see the appeal of it. Like it's similar to the stupid Arkham Batman games, which I also enjoyed a lot, but also took me a little while to get into.
Yeah.
So I'm sure eventually one of these days I'm gonna get on the Good Morning Source Gaming and be like, I beat Spider-Man PS4. I just like did nothing but played it for like 3 days straight.
I beat
Meanwhile,
Scooter.
we're also on the Switch too.
Colin,
Yeah.
how could you say that about Death Stranding? It's Kojima's auteur masterpiece.
I still think it's fine. I still think it's a good game. I think
It's
like
a masterpiece.
I think
You cannot criticize it. It's art.
That's not true because all the Sony fanboys started shitting on it as soon as it was getting 8 out of 10s because Sony fanboys have the
It's
brain...
on PC. If it was only on
Yeah.
PS4, it would have got 10 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking forward to Horizon Zero Dawn suddenly becoming a terrible game.
I can't wait for The Last of Us 2 to get lower review scores than Breath of the Wild, and then mass seppuku occurs. Whoops. But no, I guess I'll talk about Metro Redux now because that was the big thing I was excited for because
Time to continue the conversation that you said you were going to continue
Yeah.
an hour later.
Well, I wanted to give everyone else a chance before I nerded out about this stupid game.
I know.
I'm really excited about this one because I willed this port into existence. Because I think in like mid 2017, I was like, it'd be really cool on Switch, Metro Redux. And then I think like I tweeted in September of last year, like, when are they going to put Redux on the Switch? And then a month later, it was like listing leak for Metro Redux on Switch. And I was like, oh my god, it's happening. And after months of it just being leaked, both through like retailer listings and ratings, it's finally out. And I've been
And
playing
everyone's
it.
saying it's going to be on that next direct that's happening any day now. Look at all these things.
Yeah,
that are being
really.
rated.
And then I guess it kind of was because they shadow dropped the announcement like during the Smash stream.
Oh yeah.
like okay. But yeah, I got an early copy of it because I was planning on making a video of it, but then I got sick, so that really like screwed up my plans for it. But I have been playing it. If you've never played the Metro games before, They're really, really cool atmospheric like stealth horror games, and I don't know. I was just really gelling for this one because I love me some Eurojank, and I love me some horror shooters, and the Switch is like the best, like, get in bed comfy with like a spooky atmospheric game and put the headphones on and be like, hell yeah. I've been playing it, and the port is fantastic. They did a really good job with it.
The Wii U is also good at that, and I feel like people just don't appreciate the Wii U, man.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
they
the
don't.
Wii U.
Funnily enough, Metro Last Light was supposed to be a launch title for the Wii U, and then they found out, oh, the CPU in this thing is a piece of shit. So they canceled it.
I really hope that Sony eventually does allow you to stream stuff to the Switch, because that would be great.
Yeah.
I've thought about buying a Vita several times just for that purpose, but every time I think about it, and I'm like, it's a Vita. I don't want to buy a Vita.
It's not very comfy, and remote play isn't very good. Remote play is very crappy. But I guess like it all comes down to like the technical details of this port, which is the fact that it's like 30 FPS, but it's stable. It never drops, which is kind of neato. But I think the thing that's actually really cool, the interesting but totally nerdy thing that I like about the Metro Redux port is it uses like magical image reconstruction technology, which sounds really boring, but hear me out. It's kind of cool. So earlier last year, there's this thing called the M Classic that released, and it's this little HDMI dongle, and basically what it does, you guys have used an emulator before, right?
Yeah.
You know that horrible filter? It's called like HQ4X or something, and it kind of smudges all the pixels to make everything look like a Photoshop filter. You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I'll pretend that I do for the sake of this conversation.
I think I do.
Here, I'm gonna pull up an example of it, because I need to demonstrate why this is actually kind of a cool thing. Copy image. Can I just paste that into? You know, it's not gonna work like that. Okay, I put it in the window. That's what it turns sprites into. It turns it into like this weird, kind of smudgy MS Paint looking mess.
I'll wait for the stream to catch up.
Yeah, exactly.
To where it is.
3, 2, 1. Oh god damn it.
Let's just keep going when it comes up.
Yeah, all right. So basically, what this filtering does is it uses that. It uses that.
Let's it out, man. It'll be. You know what I like to call that? I like to call that what Square Enix thinks is a good idea to do for all of their 16-bit ports.
Well, that's exactly what I was
so
maybe that's what they use that software for.
So what this filtering does is that it uses. Yeah, I know it looks bad. That's my point. But what it does is it uses like a very, very, very faint version of that to basically kind of like if you have a lower resolution image, it kind of smudges out the edges. So like something that would be super aliased and jagged would kind of be smudged up, and then it uses a very light sharpening filter to kind of sharpen it out, to kind of smooth it out. And the idea is to take an image that's lower resolution and to not so much stretch it out, but to kind of use just a mess of like light filtering to kind of make the image better. And the crazy thing is that Metro Redux actually uses it in the game. Okay. Because in handheld mode, the game runs at about like 480p, and in docked it runs 720p, but they use this to try to fudge the game into looking like a higher resolution. In docked mode, it's kind of noticeable because like any fast animation will have like a little bit of artifacting to it, especially like moving foliage in the background and stuff. But in handheld mode, it's like perfect. It makes the game look like it's native res when it totally isn't. And I think that's actually super cool because there's a lot of games on Switch that could use that. Yeah. Like Xenoblade 2, which just used a terrible sharpening filter. If it used something like that, it would have looked like 300 times better.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good use of technology. That's otherwise.
Yeah,
rough.
the Final Fantasy remakes all use that bilinear filter, and they all look fucking awful.
Oh, yeah, and the Dragon Quest ones, which was really the Dragon Quest ones are extra upsetting because like there are Super Nintendo versions of the original games that look like have animation and all sorts, and this so it's like objectively worse. Even if it's like a style thing that a preference, the Super Nintendo versions of those games are still objectively better.
I'm gonna just drop this into the chat. It looks so bad. They stretch it out and put a filter on it, and they're all like, done.
Square Enix on that laziness.
But yeah, the end result is that Metro Redux ends up being like one of the best looking Switch games because they just held that game's art style in place, and the performance is rock solid, and it just looks nice. So,
are there any other like old school petty Final Fantasy fans that are really upset, just and mad, but not really, not really expressing it much because Square just won't remake Final Fantasies like 4 through 6?
Well, the big
just won't.
The big backlash over that stuff was back when the Steam versions came out.
Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is the most overrated all time.
Whoa.
And I'm sorry.
Steam version
of Square's trying to silence him.
Yeah, really.
5 is also overrated. All of the games that everybody loves suck. All of them.
No, this talking about the filtering stuff. I guess before we move on to the regular conversation,
actual topics.
Have you guys seen that?
I do like Final Fantasy VII a lot. It's probably one of my top 5 Final Fantasies. It's just I just feel like it's held on a pedestal for no real reason, except it's the first one that a lot of people played, so nostalgia. So of course, but anyways, go on.
Yeah. I was gonna say, have you guys seen that tweet that's been going around about the sprite?
The Street Fighter Third Strike sprite.
Yeah. But they've been doing that for a while, but for some reason the Sakura one caught on fire. But they've been doing that with other sprites for a while.
I don't.
It's unnerving.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's the slightly because it makes it look like almost 3D.
Yeah, it almost adds like parallaxing to it. It's weird.
Really strange. But I think it's really cool technology if they just didn't do it at like ×8.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
the thing is, with that specific use of interpolation, AI-generated interpolation, it removed like all the weight from that animation.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It
just looks like stilted and lacking direction.
It's also completely unnecessary for a fighting game. Like that's so many unnecessary extra frames.
Have you seen the one for Super Mario World where it's all like, yeah, that's why would you need that?
I haven't. I was actually thinking about it with the Super Mario World one. I was thinking like, why would you need like 100 frames for running animation?
I really hate that like frame interpolation got really popular lately with just like people taking like old Tom and Jerry cartoons and being like, wow, this shit looks great, it's 60 FPS, and it's like, no, it looks awful. Like, what are you talking about?
I feel like people really started doing that with I feel like when Dragon Ball Super was on, people were all like, why isn't this 60 frames per second? And they'd add extra frames that would make everything look really weird and not actually flow as well as it does with the actual animation.
I mean, I think there's just been a general push for higher frame rate video just because people have just been like lazy and can do it. Like I noticed like a ton of vlogs are at 60 FPS now for like no reason, and it's just like, oh,
I think people always like it's better to have it at 60 frames per second. I mean, I sometimes render videos at 60 FPS even though they probably don't need to be.
Yeah, but you're not like interpolating frames. Like that's the thing. Like it's still like a 30 FPS video and a 60 FPS video. It's whatever.
Yeah, there's a difference between just like displaying frames twice.
Yeah.
And like making fake frames
to fill in the gap.
Exactly.
Not everything needs to be 60 frames per second or even higher. But I think especially because a lot of people come
from Twitch movements needs to be 60 frames, but like if it's not that demanding, 30's fine.
Also,
even 20's fine.
Spazzy, you weren't low; you were just cutting out like mad.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, am I cutting out?
Sounded like to silence you.
It sounded like a rave of someone really angry about Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy.
I don't like it was.
Oh, it's like
how can it be Final Fantasy if there's so many of them, guys? God.
Anyway, Metro Redux. Go to your local GameStop if it's not shutting down and buy that game.
No, if it is shutting down, definitely go there and buy it for $5.
Actually, you're not wrong because my local GameStop is shutting down and they applied the 20% off like discount to it when I was buying it, which is unfortunate, but sure, I saved money.
If my local GameStop is closing.
You'll get an email about it.
The GameStop across the street from me was closing, and I walked out of there and spent $20 for I'm like, sweet, Sekiro, $2. Okay. it was like the day before they were closing, and they're like 80% off. Just go.
Yeah, I did that when Metro Redux, not Metro Redux. What am I saying? When Blockbusters was going out of sales, when Blockbusters was closing down, that's what I did, and I got stuff like Dead or Alive 6 for like stupidly cheap.
That's one of my favorite Twitter follows. Is the last Blockbuster.
The last Blockbuster.
So yeah, I really liked it. Anyway, going on to the actual topics of the last few weeks. I have an order here, but if you guys want, we can go out of order because I'm pretty sure some people want to know what we thought about Sonic the Hedgehog.
I was thinking of leaving Sonic towards the end. I mean, have all four of us seen it?
No.
Shadow has definitely not seen it. I've seen it.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I saw Invisible Man last night. We can talk about that. Huh?
No.
I was just thinking of leaving Sonic until the end purely because we can then talk about spoiler stuff without having the risk of
Here's the thing, though. There's nothing to spoil in that movie.
I mean, there's
actually no. I take it back. They spoiled everything in the trailer. They put a post-credit scene in the trailer.
But the second post-credit scene is probably already spoiled for everybody, and we can talk about that later. But
yeah, it's not very exciting
either. Scene from the end of the original trailer, a post-credit scene.
The one where Jim Carrey actually looks like Robotnik? Yeah, that's from the very end of the movie before the credits roll. After the story has wrapped up, it just smash cuts to Jim Carrey and he goes, "Look at me, I look like Robotnik." Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's not talk because some people
back to the Invisible Man,
and that was in the trailer, so that's fine to mention. But yeah,
the whole movie's in the trailers, though. That's the thing. I know, but there really isn't.
I mean, there are a few things we can talk about, but some people do want to try and stay as spoiler-free as possible. So maybe let's hold off on Sonic and talk about some of the other stuff.
I feel like Invisible Man's going to do really well this weekend because absolutely nothing is in the theaters. It is
literally. I do not know what the Invisible Man is.
That's why Sonic's doing well
too. Get so much like revenue from all the Invisible Men that are going to see it.
I thought Invisible Man was like a Red Pill movie. Like now men are invisible. Thanks to all you.
No, it's just another shitty Blumhouse movie.
It was okay. It was all sorts of okay, and I just in generalities, like I get it. They're all like, oh, but he's making her feel invisible because he's gaslighting his wife and everybody, and their entire relationship was him always making people think that she was crazy, but he's just this controlling, manipulative guy. And now, even after his supposed death, he's invisible and doing. I'm like, okay, I get that. Thematically, I guess that's cool. I like it, but still, it's at the end of the day just another shitty Blumhouse movie.
Very, very few of the movies that he produces end up being good,
but all of them make a profit.
Yeah,
because they're all made on a budget of like $5. Like I saw the trailer for Invisible Man before 1917 played, and I was like, is this a TV movie? And then I saw the Blumhouse logo, and I went, oh, that's it.
Invisible Man apparently made $29 million this opening weekend off a $7 million budget because that's what Blumhouse does.
There you go. That's
That's a secret with horror, is that we've gotten to a point where we can basically do horror effects for almost nothing.
Especially if they're invisible.
Man, remember how remember how good Get Out is and how it's the only one that's good?
Yeah, and Whiplash for whatever reason.
You don't like Annabelle Creation? Huh?
Anyway,
is the Five Nights at Freddy's movies a Blumhouse?
It should be.
I think it's Universal, which means it's probably Blumhouse because Universal's just been handing them the keys to all of their
I heard Happy Death Day was actually a lot of fun, like a fun horror movie. I wouldn't know, but I've heard.
Kind of like how Universal now owns Cyban.
Oh, they did the new Halloween. The new Halloween was a decent movie. Wasn't like the great.
Yeah, it's Blumhouse.
Yeah, oh no. Anywho,
they did Split. I thought Split was okay. I'm looking through movies that they did that I thought were okay.
Speaking of horrifying pandemics to hit the Earth recently, how about that direct drought? What's going on? Like, what? Why hasn't there been a general direct in a while?
There's been a real big shortage of news on the Nintendo hemisphere.
It's good to have a break. I mean, it's all just built. That's technically not the case because Animal Crossing got a whole bunch of news last week.
Well, yeah, they've done it for 2 games specifically, and only those 2 games.
But what is their second half of the year? We still don't really. And I mean, I know we'll probably find a lot of that.
We don't really know anything after Animal Crossing. Even like Smash DLC, which is supposed to come this year, we don't even have like a general idea of when it will come. Just probably some.
What's weird about that is there's a drought in general video game news, but that's clearly because Microsoft and Sony are ramping up for their big reveals.
Yeah.
So you would think the smart thing for Nintendo to do would be like, but look at all these games we have and just like barrage us with a bunch of games so that we don't even really worry that much about the launch because those games it's all cross-gen. Who cares? Maybe they're saving it for that.
Maybe
I mean,
possible.
All right.
Okay, so some games have been delayed because of the coronavirus, and people are dropping out of public events, GDC, PAX East. They've been dropping out of it for public safety. But I think there's genuine reason to believe that the coronavirus may have delayed production of some games.
Yeah, I want to address what someone in the chat said, where they said obviously the pre-recorded video is being postponed. Like obviously, like the coronavirus isn't going to be delaying like production of like some guy's Premiere template. However, if a game is delayed because internal production is being pushed because literally no one can get to the office to actually work on the thing, then the trailer that's going to be focused in the direct is now wrong information, and they can't do that. They can't just like show a trailer with wrong information because it'll just look bad for everyone.
And I mean, this is the assumption with this whole thing of pre-recorded video being postponed, like assumes that it's already been recorded. And I think there's a big thing that needs to be pointed out that Push has been talking about on Twitter, in that Japan has gone into some bizarro end of the world crisis mode around this virus. Like schools are just off for an entire month.
If you
all
think,
of March.
If you
Japan,
think
like because of this virus,
it's pretty tame because you live in America or Europe or some place where they haven't gone like full panic mode. Japan and China have gone into like full-blown like
pandemic mode,
lockdown. You're advised to not stay. Yeah, China 100% has, and a lot of people get their like products and stuff from China.
And it's affecting everything because you also have to remember that even including everything down to the production of game cartridges and consoles are being delayed. If you go, I know Reddit, lol, LXD, it's a bad website, but like There are people who live in Japan, they cannot find a Nintendo Switch. They're just not being made. They're just not getting into the country. And guess what? School's off for a month, so whatever supplies were left of the Switch, parents are buying for their kids to keep them busy in the house.
Yeah, because they're advised to stay indoors, not go out. Theme parks are all closing down. Big public areas are all closing down. Push was complaining that, like, people were just buying out of stock stuff like soap and face masks and queuing up at the opening of stores to buy everything because they plan on staying inside and keeping everything super clean. And I mean, it is massive, especially considering I kind of get it with Japan. So, like, the thing with the coronavirus is that it's only really deadly if you've already got a pre-done disease or if you're just really old and your immune system can't keep up with it. And in Japan, there are a lot of old people. I think there are more old people than there are people being born in Japan, which is like their
the birth rate
reverse birth rate problem. So,
maybe this is just
so in Japan, I totally get it. But imagine if you're Nintendo and they're being like, okay, it's now because of this virus in complete lockdown, we can't get people to come to the studio, work from home, or take more time off. And imagine trying to get a filming production company or whatever company you use to film these directs. And them just not working because of the virus, or it being really difficult to get people over.
Nintendo would absolutely not let people work from home.
Yeah, true. But I'm just thinking, like, because they obviously people will need to come in for work. But there are so many places of work that are dropping stuff down because of the virus and can't produce as much, or are having less time at work. And I don't know. Nintendo obviously hasn't commented on it, so we don't know what they're doing. But it's entirely very possible that
they've been they've been the most quiet, not just with game news, but also with everything else, because they were the only company to not drop out of GDC before GDC was postponed, and they're at PAX East right now. So
I don't know if it delay E3. I mean, I'm really hoping that all this coronavirus stuff blows over by the end of March, because I'm meant to be going in Japan in May, and like I'm going for a specific gaming event, Bit Summit, which still hasn't announced. Like, it's announced a date, but it hasn't announced. You can't sign up for tickets yet, and I really don't want it to be delayed.
It could,
because I'll have to try. It could be, but like if it is, I'd have to try and fight to see if I can get my plane tickets back. Because I'll like money back. Because otherwise, I'm flying to Japan for like. I mean, great to see Push again. But like that would literally be it, and I'm there for like nearly 2 weeks.
I think there's a good chance all of this might blow over by the time summer hits, because like
it needs to be before summer. It needs to be by the end of March.
Like it's not to say that it is getting under control, but definitely measures are being put into effect.
People are being more aware of it now, at least.
But in regards to things like delaying the release date of the new consoles, it's a possibility, because the computer parts shortage, according to a bunch of tech analysts. In fact, Linus Tech Tips actually did a really good video about it yesterday. He's saying that like all that stuff is about to hit, like it's about to strike. He's saying like if you're thinking about buying a computer or computer parts, you should do it now and not in a month or two, when all of a sudden like the shipping of SSDs and all that stuff just halts for like a month.
So I think the reason that Animal Crossing is fine is because it might have already been in production on the cartridge.
It's kind of fine and kind of. So they have confirmed,
and they already
in some places in some regions the special Switch Deluxe Animal Crossing that's coming out is being delayed because they won't be able to make enough of them. But it only seems to be certain regions.
I feel like they could have had the cartridges ready already, because they already had plans in their production to do a day one patch.
There's also just the high probability that they have multiple companies producing the cartridges around the world. They probably have a plant in the US, in Korea, in India. So
the bulk is probably in China, but they would definitely have production places elsewhere.
Games themselves might be fine, but it's the consoles themselves that are the most worrying, because that's all in like Foxconn in China.
I have a feeling that if games are being delayed due to being unable to produce physical media for them, the next time we get a direct, it might be like to announce a bunch of digital only games, so an indie showcase again, which will piss a lot of people off for no reason, because Nintendo fans only care about the big Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time though, we haven't been in like a total drought of Nintendo information, because we've had 2 game specific or franchise specific directs, because we had a Pokemon one in January, which gave us the Mystery Dungeon DX, which comes out this week, and the Pokemon DLC, which I believe the first part should be what, April or May, and then
yeah, mate. I don't know if have they confirmed that.
Late spring. I don't think it has like a set month, but I think it has like a late spring or something on it.
Yeah, late spring could all be all the way up to like the end of May.
Scheduled for release by the end of June 2020.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay.
And then
part 2 is fall 2020.
Yeah, and then you have the Animal Crossing Direct about a game that comes out, in less than 3 weeks.
Yes.
You have the Smash stream, which not only released a new fighter and update, but they also announced Fire Emblem DLC, which came out early February.
Yes.
And then on top of that, we still have Luigi's Mansion DLC coming out next month, and whatever the hell else they have to announce.
Xenoblade is coming soon. Xenoblade has.
So I don't want to say like the news has actually been popping, but they've been releasing stuff. They've been putting stuff out there. Plus, Tokyo Mirage Sessions came out in January. Brain Age came out in January. And they're still advertising, everything from the second half of last year.
Did it ever come out in America?
Brain Age? No, but
okay,
region free, so it's... If you
and
really want it,
to
you know where
the
to
gap.
go. Yeah.
Release it in America.
It's... I wouldn't say things are totally dire, and of course, third parties, if they absolutely have to, they'll just, shove an announcement on Twitter, because stuff that we all thought was going to be in a direct, like Metro Redux or DMC 3 special editions, like big announcements, or even like Saints Row 4 were just they were just dropped on Twitter.
They just did their own announcements.
Yeah, exactly. Hell, even the Outer Worlds was done completely on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brain Age came out in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it's been out over here. I haven't got it though.
I hear it's not good.
I don't think it's bad. I think they went a bit back to basics. So like it's not as good as the 3DS one.
If anything,
it's probably about on par as the original DS one.
If anything, I think the lack of a general direct has been a mix of production delays, but also just simply the fact that the first half of a year for Nintendo has always been pretty light, and they just didn't really have anything for April.
I think the last few general directs have been really hefty with a lot of things in them.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo's just moving to doing 3 to maybe 4 general directs a year, including E3, and just having them packed instead of doing like 6 a year.
Oh yeah, because they're all like 40-50 minutes long now. They're nearly an hour.
I think that's better, because it whets people's appetite for news, and then when you see it, there's a lot being thrown at you. Instead of people being constantly disappointed by having a direct every month, every 2 months, like, what was that? It didn't have the one particular game I wanted.
Yeah, I remember the early directs. The one in like September 2013 had like a couple of minutes dedicated to the Wind Waker HD, saying things that people already knew about the Wind Waker HD. Like, if we get we're getting less frequent directs, and we're getting new information every time instead of repeat information, which is a big improvement, I think.
And on top of that, it's, starting with E3 last year, Nintendo was already going all out on games that are coming to the Switch in 2020. Not particularly first party, but, No More Heroes 3, Deadly Premonition 2, Bravely Default 2. There's a bunch of stuff coming. It doesn't have dates, but yeah, there's a ton of games coming. I don't think there's really anything to worry
It's just a difference in their marketing strategy. I mean,
Computer robots. We just talked about that.
Yeah, we just talked about that like a minute
Yeah.
earlier.
But yes, we do think that there's a possibility that it may delay a Nintendo Direct due to the possibility that it has stulted production.
Glucose Guardian says, I feel like Zippo being wrong about 2 directs generally reduces the chances of blah 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 yada yada yada. And my answer to that is he said that in January, like right as the virus was breaking out.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I feel like direct date leaks are some of the most
Can change very easily.
Yeah, they're not exactly hard information because I just that stuff can literally change on the flip of a dime. I mean, look, like it was delayed by an earthquake like 2 years ago. They were just like,
2 years ago,
screw it.
half a year ago.
No, it was in 2018.
Like,
that's 2 years. Well, whatever.
I personally think that Zippo's leak was genuine too, because he's been shut down, and Nintendo doesn't do that for fake things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think his stuff. I think his stuff was genuine. I just think it was maybe slightly off, or was based on old information.
I think someone told them
probably old information. Yes.
Yeah, because he wasn't the only one who was. It was passed. The news of us 2 directs and in February was being passed around quite a bunch to a few people.
It is highly likely that his source in January said, yes, they are planning for 2 directs next month, and then it just didn't happen. They had the one, which is like
Animal Crossing because they had to do it.
Yeah, it's really not that strange.
Yeah.
I still think that Paper Mario and Pikmin 3 port are still happening. A 2D Metroid,
Splash.
Maybe. Who knows?
I hope they make Color Splash 3.
I hope that Mario Kart 9 rumor is not true.
I hope that Mario Kart 9 rumor is also not true. I'd much rather they focus on something else.
I'm not feeling a 9th Mario Kart. I'm not.
No. I mean, unless I was talking this about my friend, and I was like, if they do like a Double Dash sequel, I feel like that can live alongside a regular Mario Kart because it's different enough.
Guys,
like,
the direct
with its
is
mechanics
a meme in the server on how easy it is to predict. I mean, like, I've been saying any week now for what, like 3 years? Like,
I've been like joking cynically that there's not going to be one until March since January, and I can't believe I was right. Like, generally, I say those things to get people's hopes down so that they aren't disappointed when it doesn't happen, but they're also like, they can be surprised and glad when it does. But yeah, it happened.
I do definitely want to bring up for a second the recent Nintendo smacking down leakers thing, because I do actually have like 2 things I really want to say on that.
Okay.
One is that I don't agree with Liam Robertson about what he said.
Okay.
Where he said that they're only going after leakers that have illegally obtained information. Because I mean, first off, you're breaking NDA regardless when you do that. So I mean, there's not really like legal leaks outside of when a company fucks up and sends you a press junket early or something. And I just don't believe him because of course this includes people like Sabby and Zippo, and to lump them in with like the guy that was trying to hijack the Breath of the Wild E3 demo, like I don't know about that one. That seems like a little bit of a stretch
on his computer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Liam knows something that we don't, but from my experiences with Zippo and Sabby, I don't believe it. And Sabby has had run-ins with Nintendo previously, so it's not very far-fetched. So the concept of they're only going after people that's like really messing with things internally, I kind of doubt. But like, this also kind of was a long time coming, and a lot of that just simply has to do with the Nintendo leaking community, or at least like the culture around it, because there's definitely a culture around it. Because I remember back in the Wii and like the early Wii U days, like Nintendo was the company that was seen as having this like shiny wall barrier, like you could not crack anything. Like what every Brawl leak was, fake. Like you just could not get any leaked information out of them. Like they were just watertight. And I think what has happened and what has led to this,
there was one Brawl leak that was real. Nobody believed it.
but I think like I think it's the problem, what has led to this, and what has also led to just generally this whole idea of there being a direct drought and oh god, Nintendo's not telling us anything. I think the problem just generally comes down to we almost, like, people just made like a game out of trying to get information out of Nintendo. And Nintendo always tried to play along with it because Nintendo usually released information for stuff rather quickly. And it's getting to the point where we're now, like, Nintendo can't even fucking show anything because you have people online that are trying to leak every single thing that will be said, days or weeks before these things are announced. Which at that point, I mean, realistically, I'm not saying this is going to lead to Nintendo just not doing directs at all, but at some point you do have to wonder, then what is the point of directs if everyone's just going to put this information out on the web and every, website is going to write an article about, oh, so-and-so said X is real. And I think that's, and it definitely reached a fever pitch because, assumingly the thing that started this was when Sword and Shield got basically busted wide open, 2 weeks before the game came out. And we just have all these people on Twitter going like, oh yeah, the next direct is going to have Metroid 7 and fucking Mario 6 and everything. And it's just like, I'm sure at this point, like, I would fully understand a company going, enough is enough. Like, this is ridiculous.
There's definitely people that talk about games more than play them. I'm one of them at this point, to be honest with you. That you just get on Discord or talk to people.
It's armchair analytics. That's what it is.
It's I don't know. Not to get too philosophical, but it's kind of the extension of we started the 24-hour news cycle, and then we extended that to everything else with social media, and then before, people would watch sports and they'd be like, that was a great game, and then get on with their lives. But now people watch a game and then there's 8 shows with different sportscasters talking about the same thing in slightly different ways, and you pontificate all week long till the next game. And it's like that with literally every facet of entertainment.
Yeah.
Why the hell was I talking about the box office before? Why does the me?
Yeah. And that's and it's becoming like an actual genuine issue because I don't want to throw shade on the lovely people in our Discord, but like every time you go in there, it's just like any new leaks, like it's just people looking for this stuff, and it's like it doesn't matter if it's leaked or not. And then you get all these people that when they don't have information, they're like, oh, Nintendo has to announce something or else the second half of their year is doomed. Or like the Smash Brothers DLC purchasers are going to be disappointed. And it's like, no, they can announce this stuff whenever they want because they are a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company, who have scores of people who sit in a room at a round table and talk about when they release information or not.
Also, fans are probably just going to buy it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they put Byleth at the end of the Smash Pass. They don't really care.
They put Byleth at the end of the pass, and I already bought the next one. I went on there and I said, I want to buy this Cuphead me. And then I said, well, fuck it, I'm already here. There you go, Nintendo, have more of my money. Yeah, and it's incredible. Nintendo's a very good job with marketing recently. Oh, what am I, a robot again?
Yeah, a little bit, just for a second.
Okay, yeah, it looks like my internet connection is bad. I think that's where this is coming from. But yeah, Nintendo's done an excellent job with marketing the last decade, really.
Yeah.
The directs, like, people are so excited for half-an-hour commercials for future Nintendo products. It's amazing.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I was telling you, Colin, I've recently been reading through Console Wars, and it's funny how Nintendo. Because I'd read another book just about Nintendo history a little while ago. I can't remember what it was called right now, but it's amazing how out of touch Nintendo was for years, and how it was really Iwata was able to rebrand them as kind of this quirky, fun company.
Yeah.
Well,
there's that story that Reggie said where they wanted to like age up like the Nintendo logo and their perception, and Reggie was like, "Don't do that."
Right. Well,
Terrible idea.
They turn around and they embrace it, but they built off of that to hey, you're part of this
it's happening again.
Oh no! Let's see. I'm at 1 bar for connection. Damn.
Ooh, oh god.
The Nintendo logo. Did they change it back to red again?
I think so.
Yes,
I think it's red now. Yes.
Yeah,
it
was
went
gray
great
for the
Wii
Wii,
branding. Yeah.
But it's to reply to someone in chat. Who said I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting information. I'm not saying wanting information is a bad thing. Sure. Like I want to know when the fuck every game ever made is coming to the Switch. I want them dates. I want them trailers. But it's that thing of people literally begging for it, that are asking for people to go against these companies like internal structures and just leak everything before these companies even get the chance to announce it, which is like completely pointless at that point. Like why have a direct if someone's just going to put all the information for it online anyway and it'll have the same effect? It's this fact that people keep waking up and going and like Nintendo can tweet anything and there'll be like 20 tweets going, "Where's the direct? I don't care about this shitty looking game." That stuff's annoying
to me?
It's disheartening.
What's amazing to me is that Sakurai does those pics of the day for fun, and he said previously that these were pictures he took during development. These aren't new pictures.
Yeah.
And then he did that one with Smash 4 Battlefield, and everyone was freaking out to the point that later in the day or the next day, he had to tweet out a tweet in English saying, "This was a development picture. The stage is not in the game."
Only in English.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought that was amazing.
I hope Source Gaming fans sort of knew that already, considering we've been saying that they started with Smash 4 for ages. Even tweeting out with that picture, "Oh, it's a development picture from when the game 4 assets." I hope none of you guys.
I think everything's gonna be okay. I
don't think that at all.
I think when the direct is announced, it'll be kind of banging. And I
think we're gonna get a great direct.
Yeah, I think we'll get a great direct as usual. And I don't worry, guys. Video games are coming out. They're still coming out. Samurai Showdown, Mega Man ZX Collection, and Metro Redux just came out this week alone. There's great games coming out for the Switch every single week.
I'm reminded of like how much like stock Nintendo fans seem to put into leaks. I'm reminded of that specific instance where there was a completely baseless, evidenceless rumor that Adi Shankar, the producer of Castlevania, had acquired the rights to Zelda for a Netflix animated series. And then when it was announced that it was Devil May Cry, there were just a whole bunch of people in the thread like complaining, "This isn't Zelda." And it's like,
Devil May Cry makes a lot more sense for his particular sensibilities.
Devil May Cry also has a way better story than any single Zelda game.
It's also more in line with Castlevania than Zelda is.
It's more in line with like the
tone,
mature style that Adi Shankar does.
Yeah. I think that's basically all we can say about the direct drought for the most part. Like,
I mean, I'm sure, I feel everyone says it every week. Like, "Oh, when's the next direct? When's the next direct?" I feel like there does need to be one in March because Nintendo can keep delaying it for whatever reasons, for coronavirus, whatever, because there's nothing that they need to show right now. But once Animal Crossing is out, they will need to show something because we actually just don't know. All we know is Xenoblade.
You know what? I'll say this much.
Sure,
if if you really want Nintendo information as quickly as possible, go to their Twitter, turn on notifications. I've been doing that for like a year now, and half the time I have to, quickly delete them because I don't care about Pokemon. But, hey, when they do announce a Direct, you'll be the first one to know. Because you'll just instantly get that notification, and there it is.
I think I also want to address to one point that people have said regarding Directs, in that Nintendo needs to announce something and give it time to be released and stuff. Nintendo won't announce any new games last minute. And first of all, Majora's Mask was announced in like November and came out in February.
They usually it used to be that with their lower priority titles, which were 3DS, they would be announced and released within the same year. But now they don't have those two separate divisions.
Yeah.
Everything's compiled into one, so now everything takes a long time.
But
they've started announcing games way later so that people don't have to wait so long.
Yeah.
I mean, the other game I wanted to bring up for this was from the Wii era, where Wario Land Shake Dimension was announced in August and released in Japan in August.
Is that what they call it in Europe?
Shake Dimension in Europe, yeah.
Okay.
Called Shake Dimension Royale.
Yeah, Matthew makes a good point. I've had notifications on since 2018. You'll never fall for a fake. That's true, because you'll just get a notification.
Yeah.
But literally, like, Nintendo have before announced games and then like big games and then release them like 3 months later.
They've also just done stuff really out of left field. Like, people
Shadow drops and
like, everyone remember the fact that like Luigi's Mansion's date was announced like late September on Twitter? Like, it wasn't at the Direct, it was just on Twitter.
I mean, those have been their last couple Smash announcements. Have been, hey, here's not really a Direct tomorrow. It's out, guys. I part of me does wonder, and maybe this is me being conspiratorial, but as I mentioned before, we know that Sony and Microsoft are going to have really big events soon with all sorts of new next-gen crap that people are going to fall over because ray tracing and whatever. I'm wondering if Nintendo is really, if they've kind of ramped up their development, because I feel like they're at kind of the height of the system right now, and they have a lot of things they're working on, if it doesn't make sense for them to hold off on as much as they can to have just kind of a stellar like information drop. Like, because if you can show as much as you can at once around the same time that they're doing that, you won't get overshadowed in the same way. Because like, yeah, they have new hardware, but do they have games? Look at all of our games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's it for Direct stuff.
Yep. Well,
because there is no Direct, so there's nothing to talk about.
Well,
yeah,
it's
Direct and the coronavirus and smacking down leakers. I think we've covered everything off there.
Well, it's time. It's time we talk about Sonical Hedgeman.
Boy.
Oh, actually, before we do that, I just want to mention, because someone mentioned it like an hour and a half ago, and I didn't want to talk about it because like it just would have been really weird to interrupt Matt and be like, "Hang on, we got to talk about spirits real quick." But yeah, they announced a Warframe spirit, kind of random.
Cool.
It's Lotus, and I think that's a perfectly fine choice, because like,
people are complaining about that. They're like, "This is a problem with third parties in Smash. Who even is this person?" I'm like, it's like a spirit that you don't have to even download if you don't want. I mean, it's
the person that constantly talks to you when you're playing the game. Like, they're pretty much Warframe's closest example to a character outside of like the really cartoony bosses.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
It shows that how many people haven't actually played Warframe.
Yeah, now they have a reason to, because Nintendo acknowledged it.
You do have them fans who only play games because they appear in Smash, which is why it's such a good marketing tool. So now
it really is.
People get Warframe to see what it's about.
All right, but Sonical Hedgeman.
Sonical Hedgeman.
The Snoik movie, the movie with Sonic in it, in that one scene.
It was fine. I liked it.
Yeah, it was okay.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I debate whether or not I think
I'll say,
Detective Pikachu. I think it had a better story than Detective Pikachu. and I think it
I
had
think I
better
like
acting.
Detective
than
Pikachu a lot more.
Well, I think
Pikachu was only good because of Ryan Reynolds. Let's be honest.
Let me finish my points,
Yeah.
please. I think it had Ryan Reynolds was great in Detective Pikachu, but other than that, the rest of the actors are a bit bland or bad. Especially the girl in Detective Pikachu, I thought she was very bad. Whereas I didn't have the same feeling here. I felt all the actors were pretty good.
I don't know.
Sonic.
I think what you just said.
I think the story is, even though it's a bit predictable in the Sonic movie, like a bit sort of you go into it thinking, it's buddy animal stuff, and the pacing's a bit funny. I think I enjoyed the story more than the Detective Pikachu, which definitely went for much more showy and bigger visuals and much flashier. But I do appreciate all of that flashy visualness in Detective Pikachu, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of being like, look at this Pokemon, look at that Pokemon, look at how well they've blended together. So I'm very mixed on which one I think is better, and I might need to just watch Detective Pikachu again, because at the moment it feels like Sonic, but that could just be recency bias.
Everything you just said about Detective Pikachu, I could say about the Sonic movie. Like, I don't know. I felt like, and it's weird because when you talk to people about it, they're like, yeah, but it was just a kids movie. Like, what, like, you shouldn't expect too much out of it, which I think is sort of a lame argument, because there's been some, like, really good movies made for kids. Like, just because it's made for younger audiences doesn't mean it has to be, like, bland or a movie I've seen a million times before. But I think, like, I'll say this much. As, like, a kid's movie, it was just, like, it's something I've seen a million times before. As a video game movie, like, I didn't really get anything out of it either, because I just felt like they didn't really do much with anything. Like, Sonic's in there, and he's Sonic. That's about it. Jim Carrey plays Robotnik, but there's not really anything to that character. It's just Jim Carrey playing almost like a pastiche of every Jim Carrey character.
I would have been more interested in seeing the film had it not been the overdone premise of cartoon character shows up in real world. Hijinks ensue.
Yeah,
there's a road trip.
It's the Smurfs. It's Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I will say it's better than the Smurfs and Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Well, yeah, definitely. But I'm just saying, like, it's tropey, like it's been done before. And I think I got more enjoyment out of Detective Pikachu because it's just like, A, it's more of a Pokemon movie than Sonic was a Sonic movie. And B, like, not to say that, like, Detective Pikachu was overly original, but it didn't feel like I was watching a bunch of things that I had seen, like, a million times before. It just came off a bit more endearing. I don't know. Yeah.
I was going to say, here's my thing between the two movies as an adult watching them, then I'll talk about them as kids' movies. As an adult watching them, Sonic was very paint by numbers, and you knew exactly where it was going to go, but it was enjoyable, whatever. Detective Pikachu had a mystery that, as a functioning adult, you solved within 5 minutes, and then you're like, okay, all right.
The mystery's
get on with it.
Obvious in Detective Pikachu, which I think...
Yeah, like 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
So maybe as a kid, but at least with Sonic, it wasn't trying to be anything else. I'm like, okay, it's just a fun, enjoyable romp.
I just like halfway into that movie, to the end of the movie, Sonic, I was just bored. I just felt like none of the action, none of the jokes were doing anything for me. I was just like, okay. They're just moving on to the next scene. All right. Everything I saw all this stuff in the trailer.
Because I was with a group of people, and at the end we were talking about it, and I definitely had the more positive opinion. Some people really didn't like it. Some people thought it was really boring. But like, while actually watching the movie, there were plenty of people within the group laughing at the jokes and actually having a good time. And then it just, once the movie had ended and everyone thought back on it, they were like, that's a whatever movie. Which feels to me like the definition of a popcorn flick. Like, you put it on and you watch it and you enjoy it while you watch it, and then the second it's done, you realize what you've just done.
Only like 3 jokes have stuck with me because they were just so awkward and not funny. The first one being Robotnik's weird jealousy of breastfeeding. The second,
Excuse me?
there's a scene where Robotnik goes like, I was solving formulas when you were spitting formula, and then James Marsden goes, yeah, well, I was breastfed, and then Robotnik goes, oh, just rub it in my face because I was an orphan. Which it came out of nowhere.
I don't think it comes out of nowhere because the two of them are having an argument. I mean, it's a very strange line, but it's very obviously just there.
The second one was when Sonic farts, and
I honestly don't remember that.
And Sonic goes, "I had what you guys call a chili dog," and then
by the way, okay,
that guy goes, "Check your furs," which does that mean Sonic might have shit himself? Is that the joke?
I think that's the joke, yeah.
That's gross. I don't want to think about Sonic shitting himself.
All the very specific debates that you put in our freaking leak chat, you have no room to ever talk about anything being gross, Colin. So that's number one.
Listen, if Sonic was like, "Whoa, what's grosser, cum or pee?" Like, it'd be great. I would have loved that movie.
We're done. We're done. You can't talk about.
And then the third one was the weird running gag with Olive Garden.
Yeah, I was about to say that's my favorite because that was the most awkward product placement, and then I feel like it's just screenwriters being all like, "Whatever product placement, let's make this as possible. We don't care."
Obviously, I didn't mind. I didn't mind the Olive Garden one as obvious product placement it was.
How does the Olive Garden stuff go?
It's
really. It's two jokes in the movie.
Yeah.
The first one
winking at the camera, like. How they do it.
The first joke is why did they bring up Olive Garden in the first one? I remember the second one actually.
Yes,
the second one at the end, they get like a gift card for Olive Garden basically, and they make a joke about how they think they're going to be getting like tons of money and all this, or their house fixed or whatever, and their only prize is like an Olive Garden.
I still think it's odd that they didn't go for the fast food restaurant Sonic's, which serves chili dogs as their sponsor. But I mean, whatever. What do I know?
I don't remember what the first Olive Garden joke was now.
I don't remember why it was brought up. But they were just talking about
it's when James Marsden and Sonic are chatting, and then it just happens towards the end. Yeah, they make a joke about the endless pasta bowl. And they just kind of shrug and go, whatever.
Yeah, it's sort of like just like that endless pasta bowl at Olive Garden. Man, Olive Garden sure is great. It was just like so on the nose. The only other product placement I've ever seen that's as bad is in the Power Ranger movies with Krispy Kreme. It's like the same level.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
I was just thinking about the fucking Man of Steel movie where they
go to IHOP.
They like burst into a fucking IHOP and start fighting in an IHOP, and it's like, what the fuck?
Or the product placement in like any Adam Sandler movie.
Oh my god!
Say hello to my chocolate blend.
I'm trying to think though, people were complaining that there was loads of product placement in the Sonic movie.
No, there
but
wasn't.
Outside of Olive Garden, I can't think of any other. I mean, the shoes are sponsored by Puma.
I think there's like a part where they're holding a Pepsi bottle really weird, but that's about it. Like it's not.
I think those are fine ones. It's like when they're at the bar, Budweiser or whatever, and it's like, well, yeah, but you kind of expect that to be in a bar. If it was just nondescript beer, it would be very strange. So,
yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say the Sonic movie was like bad, but like even in the genre of not a lot of very good movies, that is video game movies, like this wouldn't crack like my top 5.
But Super Mario was in your top 5, so I don't know.
Yeah, but that movie's like goofy.
That
movie.
It's not. I recently rewatched it. Wolfman and I did, and it's not even like so bad it's good, or like, oh, this has a lot of interesting ideas, or so weird. Why did they do that? It's a mismatch of different ideas because production changed so many times that none of it makes sense.
I love Dennis Hopper. I love Dennis Hopper though. He's so coherent.
It is so. But what is his character as King Koopa?
His character's Dennis Hopper.
He literally hated that role. Oh my god! Oh, this yelling is giving me tinnitus. Oh god!
volume down. Turn your volume down, dude. Come on.
Fuck.
You know, sometimes it's on you. Sometimes it's not on everybody else.
My ears are bleeding.
You can make your own change. Sorry, I'm very passionate about that particular movie because it'd been years, and I'd always thought like, well, maybe if it wasn't a Mario movie, it's a weird Blade Runner-esque future for kids, but like it's devoid of any real creativity because it just ripped off so many things. Like I take a lot of issues with that movie.
But I think we can all agree the Ace Attorney movie is the best one. We all shake hands.
I don't think you can include a lot of the Japanese original movies because they would just defeat out most of the Western.
You'd be surprised. There's
top dollars. I haven't seen the King of Fighters movie, but it seems like it's better than both the Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat movies.
How's the Yakuza movie?
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Also made by Takashi Miike, weirdly enough.
There's like a product placement for that specific movie in Persona 5.
Weird.
There's a Tekken. Wasn't there a Tekken movie made in America?
Yeah, there's a Dead or Alive movie made in America.
Oh my god!
I mean, there's like an animated Super Mario Brothers movie made in Japan that's actually pretty good, like a full-length feature film, which like they should just follow for the follow, but obviously update because that movie makes up shit like another Prince character and a magic wizard who's basically Merlin. So
I learned last night there's a Fatal Frame movie that's apparently really good, and I want to watch that.
Oh boy, the Monster Hunter movie made by the Resident Evil guy.
It looks
I wonder
bad.
how that's gonna go.
Did you look at the
military men being transported to another dimension?
It sounds bad.
And then Rathalos is gonna have to go on a road trip with a random cop. It's gonna be weird.
What they're gonna do?
Oh, the Professor Layton movie is amazing. It's fantastic.
By the way, if you want to know my top 5 video game movies, here we go. Number 5, the Mario. Number 4 is Rampage, which honestly I think is more of a number 3 than number 4, but whatever. Number 3 is Detective Pikachu. Number 2 is the Street Fighter, the live action one.
What?
Yeah.
There's two live action Street Fighters.
Oh, not the Legend of Chun-Li, the one with Gomez Adams in it.
No, I saw the Legend of Chun-Li.
And number 1 is Ace Attorney because it's perfect.
I saw the Legend of Chun-Li the same year I saw Dragon Ball Evolution, and I still say that the Legend of Chun-Li was the worst movie I saw that year.
Honorable mention Postal, I guess.
My favorite thing about the Ace Attorney movie is like how faithful all of the costume design is.
Yeah,
and also
really.
At the same time, how bad all of the costume design is.
Still enjoy the original Tomb Raider. It's got a lot of issues, but I still overall enjoy it. And I think the first Mortal Kombat.
Cut the dinosaurs. Where are the dinosaurs?
And
but she does fight a robot.
I enjoy the first Tomb Raider movie up till the end, where it just goes off the rails. And I enjoy the first Mortal Kombat movie.
How do you guys feel about the fact that
yes,
more
there
people
was a
know
Postal
Resident
movie.
Evil and Tomb Raider as movies than games?
What?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that more people know Resident Evil and Tomb Raider as movies more than games?
Do they though? I
Yes.
don't think necessarily. I mean,
Resident Evil for sure.
Maybe most people I know.
I don't like those Resident Evil movies.
I hate them.
I
love them.
I like those Resident Evil movies.
I'm talking about
like
normies,
cheesy action,
like people who don't like exist in the video game sphere.
You ask the man on the street who the or the woman on the street who the protagonist of Resident Evil is. A lot of people will say Alice. You just say, "Hey, who's the main character of Resident Evil?" Alice.
I have a feeling most
That's just a
people I ask that question to on the street will have no idea what movie I'm talking about, or game, for that matter.
I mean, let's try. Let's get out there. We'll go to,
All right,
we'll go to the beach or something.
I gotta take another train back up to New York. Me and Colin, we're gonna get a camera. We're gonna go out on the streets.
I think this is worth it.
Ask people about Resident Evil. Speaking of, just because someone brought it up, I watched the Dragon Quest movie.
Sorry.
No, I don't. I mean, all right. So it's really strange because I've never played Dragon Quest V, but I really like the story, which I don't know if I can rate the movie for. But I don't think the ending is that bad. Like, I get it that they went for a twist, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad story. I think it's somewhat of a heartfelt message. It is a bit weird and does definitely come out of nowhere, with only a few subtle, very subtle hints throughout the movie that this is the case.
Yeah. For a lot of people, Dragon Quest V is like their favorite game, and I'm talking about Japanese people because they're the Dragon Quest audience, and like that twist would definitely like sour the experience a whole lot.
That's the thing. I feel like that whole section is meant to be like, you know, a loving message.
Yeah, it's definitely well-meaning. It's just like really not a good idea.
I don't know, because in the build-up to that, I think they obviously cut out a lot of the kids stuff, but it's got all the same sound effects, all the same music and everything from Dragon Quest. I think that like all the adult stuff, they keep the marriage stuff in. They do all of that, and like the stories. If that is the story of Dragon Quest V, I totally understand why people love that game. Like, because that is like I think it's a really clever and well thought out plot that's like different for most RPGs. I just didn't find the ending to be as horrible as everyone seemed to be making it out to be. Like, I think it's a
ending is what people dislike.
Yeah, it's just the twist ending, but I don't think the twist is necessarily that bad. It's like heartfelt, and it's like, yeah, it's basically like a loving message to people who play video games, I suppose. Because of what the sort of the whole reason that it's hard to say without spoiling it, but
I think
I think it's good.
I do like Mortal Kombat. I get why some people don't, because it's a blatant, not even a ripoff. It's almost a remake of Enter the Dragon with Mortal Kombat characters. And I think that's fascinating. I think the action beats are good. I think the soundtrack, the techno soundtrack for that is fantastic. I think it captures a lot of the spirit of the game while, you know, not going over the top. I think it's a fun movie. I think it did what it needed to do.
It's one of the most faithful video game adaptations.
I mean, it really is. Especially at the time.
Trashy.
We need to get your discussion out on the Double Dragon movie, the one that you guys did.
Yeah, Wolfman and I are gonna do Tomb Raider soon. I think we're like we need to watch something that's not complete trash. Because has anyone else here seen the Double Dragon movie?
I have. I was about to actually mention how it's like
it is
the worst thing ever.
So bad.
Yeah, it's awful.
It doesn't have anything like redeeming. Like Mario has a lot of like, oh, that's interesting or that's neat, or even like stuff that's very like WTF about Mario. Like Double Dragon, it's just bad. It's just everything really about it. Yeah, and then like, and there's so much of the time just kind of like sexism and like just so like everything about it, and then
hit me up when like, you guys have to talk about those two dog shit Doom movies.
Well, and then like I don't even want to, and I'm not going to get into this obviously because we have like an entire discussion, but it's so weird that they go out of their way to over explain everything. And in a different movie, I'd be like, maybe it's just progressive, but not in this movie, because I mean, there's a scene where they distract them by having a guy in a dress, and he rips the dress off. It's like ha ha ha, and attacks them, but like. One of them's Asian, one of the brothers, and one of them's white, and they never talk about it, and it kind of bothers me because everything else is explained in like you don't have to explain their stepbrother, whatever, but like it's just weird to me.
Oh, actually, you know, now that you mention things that they never explain, I have to mention something that's kind of spoilery about the Sonic movie. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, close your ears for the next 2 minutes. Ready? Go. Okay, so like I think the whole Sonic is an alien premise is really fucking stupid, and I think what makes it exponentially dumber is the fact that halfway through that movie, when Sonic almost dies 1 of 2 times, it's because he has a bomb stuck to his glove, And yeah, he has a glove because he's a cartoon character.
Alien,
no.
Planet Mobius.
Well, that was later.
No. I mean, technically, all right, we're going into the technicalities in this. Planet Mobius is meant to be an Earth that has been destroyed by nuclear war, I think.
Yeah.
Planet Mobius is an alternate dimension that was invented for the American canon.
This is made up for the American canon.
Either way, he has gloves. They never explain how or why he has gloves, because early in the movie, when he's Baby Yoda, he doesn't have gloves, and then suddenly he has gloves, and he has a bomb stuck to his glove, and the whole fucking scene, I was just like, take it off.
All right, but I mean,
take the glove off.
A lot of people have pointed this out, and I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on this. The original design they had for it didn't have gloves, so it would have just been stuck to his fur, and that's an issue of them not being able to rework that scene.
They did reshoots. They did a bunch of reshoots.
They did a bunch of reshoots.
Of the new design. Yeah. Because the original Sonic was substantially shorter, so they would have to reshoot a whole bunch of stuff to realign like eye lines.
I don't know. I think that
it's painfully awkward.
Point. They have to have like Sonic be caught up in an explosion.
It happens twice,
and I can see them. When's the second time? The first
time
is
showdown near the end of the when he spins dash.
They just did it. They didn't rewrite it because originally he didn't have gloves. I mean, that's the actual answer to that. Is that the old design didn't have gloves.
Yeah, which is what I said. I mean, when he gets hit with the bombs later on, I mean, that's during the battle. I mean, that's not like stuck to his gloves or anything like that.
But the thing is, like, someone's like, "Oh, you have to suspend your disbelief," but like, that's not like. But that's. I think that's a reasonable thing to find really weird because like they don't explain why he has gloves, and realistically, why does he have gloves?
I mean, he just has gloves because Sonic has gloves.
Basically. Yeah, but
I think in a lot of continuities, he's an alien from Mobius, though. So I don't think that's an issue, especially because Sonic as a character was kind of formed by.
If that's the case, why does he wear gloves? Where'd he get them from?
Well,
why is he Mickey Mouse?
Because gloves are comfortable, man. Maybe.
I mean, like they explain how he got his shoes. He just got gloves at some point.
His hands are cold when he runs so fast.
He lives in a cave.
I don't know.
That's the thing. They did reshoots for this movie. They literally could have just put it in a scene where he picks up some gloves and goes like, "Oh, these are comfy."
But I don't think they need. I don't think they need to do that. And I think part of it was like.
I'm not saying it's like a major fault of the film. I just found it so goddamn weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sonic wears gloves though.
Yeah, I think that's a bit more of a that's a bit more of a nitpicky thing. I think it does affect the bomb scene, but it's also one of those they did some reshoots, but they didn't want to rewrite parts of the script and have to come up with new reasons for certain things to happen. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of that. It's like so they had an interview recently where they talked about the fact that Sonic comes to the real world. And like the reason they had to set it like this with Sonic and just making it a road trip thing was purely a budget reason, because the original idea of the script was going to just be Sonic in Sonic's world, but having to like have all of that in the realistic looking CG and all stuff like that.
You guys seem to be missing my point. I'm not saying like, oh, why does Sonic have gloves? This is blasphemy. I'm just saying like they gave him gloves in this, like, just out of nowhere in the movie, and then they have a scene where something is specifically stuck to this thing that they never explain that could have just led to someone, just pulling it off. Like,
I think it's. I mean, I think those are two separate things. To be honest, I think they don't need to explain why he has gloves because the character always has gloves, and there's no real reason to explain it. And then the bomb scene. Yeah, okay. If it was originally written that he was always using the design with gloves, then it wouldn't work. But because I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on the fact that they didn't want to rewrite parts, come up with a brand new scenario for how Sonic basically almost dies.
Plus, the animation studio was probably out of business by that time, so
So, like, that's one of the things I'm willing to sort of just let them have. Like,
and I'm going to say this too. I think, and it's super overdone. I agree, and it was never really a good premise. But I think the kind of coming from another dimension and teaming up with a human works better for Sonic than it does for something like the Smurfs. And I think it's just because we've seen Sonic cross into the human world before via games, and he's also kind of like a superhero. So there's a reason for him to do that and to go on a quest and to use his quote unquote powers in the real world. I just think it translates a little bit better from a narrative
standpoint. The actual
standpoint.
canon of Sonic is that he's always existed in the real world. Sonic with realistic humans is the intended scenario.
Yeah. In the original Japanese, which I guess is the current canon, is that it was Sonic.
Right,
Sonic...
the Japanese canon is awful. It's Sega of America made Sonic popular. So
I mean, the Japanese.
There are realistic humans on the walls, on the murals in Sonic 3.
I mean, it was always based on thingy. It's literally South Island and Angel Island are both moving islands that people can't find because they're always changing locations. So that's why, and so Sonic and all his friends just live on South Island and are basically separated from everyone else. And it's not until Eggman finds them that.
Oh yeah, Sonic does have human feet. I forgot. They take his shoes off. They have a little X-ray of his feetsies.
I swear they don't.
He's got human hands.
They made a specific point.
Hands. Why wouldn't he have human feet?
I know. It's just it's weird to have a scene about it.
Do they have I thought they did.
Yeah, they fucking Robotnik X-rays his feet. They show human feet.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Apparently,
it's the design.
Not the director. I don't remember who it was, but he had to. The guy who redesigned Sonic had to fight them to not actually show the feet. Like that was a compromise. Like seriously, he said I had to fight to not show Sonic's feet.
Had to fight for it,
and they had to change his shoe. Like that's why it's cut off at the bottom of the screen.
God.
It's hilarious. Yeah, that he's all like, we don't want to see Sonic's feet. We're not going to do it. And the compromise was, we'll do an X-ray. And he's like,
as I said before, I don't think the movie's bad. I just think it could have been a hell of a lot better. And I wouldn't even rate it high as a video game adaptation. It was just like the most okay thing ever.
Now that they've got a budget. Like, because this movie obviously...
I am interested in the sequel, because now they can get all of the stupid origin story trope shit out of the way and just make a Sonic movie.
They can make the story of Sonic 1/2.
Yeah, exactly. That seems infinitely more interesting than, like...
And I just wait how they're going to get James Marsden a part of it still.
Actually, my favorite thing about this movie is what you were saying earlier, is the pacing. This movie has the same pacing as, like, Emperor's New Groove. Like, it's over in 40 minutes. It just rushed through it. It's great.
I feel like maybe it's such bizarre pace. Like, everything from the build-up towards the road trip part is really fucking weird. And, like, the title screen doesn't happen till, like, 10 minutes in? Because they have that whole section with Baby Sonic.
Yeah.
Here is a big positive I'll give the Sonic movie. Sonic is a child, and he's always been a child, and even in current canon, he is still a child. But no game ever treats him like one. No outside medium ever treats him like he's a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old or whatever. And this is the first time in any Sonic medium where I've actually felt like Sonic acts the age he's meant to be.
I have that issue with Ninja Turtles where the word teenagers in them, but like in half the depictions, they just look just like people, except for Michelangelo.
Like it's really bad with Sonic because like the characters are meant to be somewhere between max 15, maybe 16 Knuckles might be, and at like youngest 8, with like 1 or 2 exceptions on either side. And yet, you never can tell because Sonic and his friends just don't act like it. They act like they're adults, or at least young adults, in basically every game and every other side thing. I think Sonic X might have been the closest they ever came to acting like the kids they are, and that's only because they hang out with kids in that show.
Oh, by the way, if you're taking part in like the weird debate on Twitter of which is better, Sonic versus Birds of Prey, what are you doing? What is this comparison? Why are we comparing the Detective Pikachu remake versus Suicide Squad 2? I don't...
If you want to actually compare Birds of Prey to something, compare it to, I don't know, a comedy-based, R-rated superhero movie that opened in February.
It's so weird when people are like, man, Sonic's making more money than Birds of Prey. Like, yeah, wow, a fucking PG-rated movie is making more money than an R-rated Suicide Squad sequel.
I still don't understand
I wonder why.
How they thought that a movie based on the most annoying character in Suicide Squad, an already unpopular, like, generally
love Harley
critically
Wait, is that the Zippo in chat?
Movie. Is it Zippo?
Is that the real Zippo?
Real?
Is that the actual 100% original Zippo?
I don't understand how they thought
I think Birds of Prey. I think Birds of Prey would have done better.
You don't like that? Harley Quinn's really popular.
Zippo, where were you like an hour ago?
Fun action movie.
We're having like 3 different conversations here.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Birds of Prey. I thought it was an action movie.
He's being silenced again.
Sorry, go on, Pazzy.
It was a fun action movie. It wasn't anything too special. They actually did ramp up the action portion. I mean, it's not John Wick, but they did do a decent job with the action. The comedy was okay. It wasn't Deadpool either. It was probably one of my top 3 or 4 modern DCEU movies or whatever, because there's not much competition there. But like, okay, Harley Quinn actually was really popular. Like when that year the Suicide Squad came out, everyone was dressed as Harley Quinn for Halloween. It was awful. But I feel like it skews a little bit younger, like the Suicide Squad fan base. So by not making it PG-13, I think they kind of screwed themselves a bit. And also, I'm not sure exactly who that was marketed to. Like hardcore comic book fans, that was not a Birds of Prey movie. It should have just been called Harley Quinn. Just like lean heavily into it. And they tried to fix that.
Harley Quinn and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Like flipped it from being Birds of Prey, the emancipation of Harley Quinn or whatever, to like Harley Quinn featuring Birds of Prey or something like that. They like released titles around after release.
It was Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. But yeah, no, I think it all started because honestly, this is what I saw on Twitter.
We need to wrap this up.
So some Birds of Prey fans that were just being kind of stupid, jokey Birds of Prey fans were making jokes about Sonic, like, I just saw Sonic and it was so homophobic or whatever. Like, just go watch Birds of Prey instead. And I think it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. And then what that got was all of the anti-SJW people on the YouTubes, all of the crazies that latch onto anything to latch onto that. And then that led to more backlash from the Birds of Prey people. And it was just the most ridiculous. These movies have nothing to... First of all, these movies have nothing to do with each other. Second of all, Harley Quinn isn't even really, if you watch it, that much of a quote-unquote woke movie, but whatever.
No, it's not.
Second of all, Sonic isn't like an anti like anything.
Yeah,
he's Sonic. It's a kids movie.
No, but Spazzy,
what are you doing?
You don't understand. Clearly, if this movie has some political agenda that I don't agree with, even if it's totally devoid of it, and I wouldn't know because I haven't seen the movie. But why did Joker not win? Fuck Parasite. Go watch Parasite.
You know, I didn't get the Ramdon. I didn't understand that until recently. That because I mean, I guess I understood it was instant noodles. Yeah, so there it's kind of to say, hey, they can't. Everybody enjoys at a basic level. These
I'll end it on this. It's really weird, but
they had to put the sirloin on there. Yeah.
So the Ramdon, like the name of it, is actually an intentional mistranslation. Because there is a real name for it in Korea, but they knew that English-speaking audiences would have no fucking clue what it was. So they changed it to Ramdon so that the joke would be like, what the hell is Ramdon? Like, what is it? But it is... Go watch the Binging with Babish episode on it. He explains it pretty good, and it's cool.
Actually, that's where I watched it.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm all like, oh, now I understand that. Like, before I didn't really get what the joke was, but now I do. What the deeper meaning.
I want to say one last thing before we wrap up. about all of this.
Is it about Olive Garden?
Everything up. This is it's the Virgin Sonic versus Bird of Prey against the Chad Animal Crossing and Doom collaboration. That's what the fan bases have been like this last month.
Hey, I really enjoy Animal Crossing and Doom.
It is a great collab. the unforeseen friendship that comes from Doom and Animal Crossing.
I cannot wait.
And with that good note, I think we should start wrapping.
That's a good end right there. It's 2.5 hours, baby.
Oh my god!
I have no idea what this was even about.
It was about which bodily fluid is grosser. Anyway,
you get that out of here.
As per usual, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Of course, if you wait just a bit, just a few hours, our lovely, lovely boy Spilled Paints will do some timestamps in the comments below. So please don't ask us to do timestamps because they're going to happen anyway. So just accept your reality. Everything's fine. Everything is okay. I love you. If you want to support us, links in the description below. Please consider donating to us through Streamlabs, or you can become a patron. You get cool stuff. You can recommend us to stream Final Fantasy VI, or make a top 10 about some benign topic or some other thing. Discord link down below. Our Twitters are down below. We love you.
Are down below. Yep.
And
buy Devil May Cry 3.
Yeah, buy Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition for the Nintendo Switch Entertainment Hybrid Console. Good night, everybody.
Bet.
Bye.